a crazy leftist attacks ICE in Minneapolis. Look, we won't react to many videos about that matter. We will simply address it. We will simply talk about it a little bit because it happened and it means a lot in politics in general. And right after that, well, the big topic of today is Maduro getting arrested by the USA, the reactions of everyone, China, USA, Venezuela, crazy leftists again, because I do think what the left has become today is shameful. I consider myself a libertarian. Now, if we really talk about more modern politics, I consider myself a conservative despite not agreeing on everything. And now we got a dragon joining in the discussion. How are you, dragon?
Yeah, it's like good if you get more of the heads up. Personally, I found two good things, and you have to go drag a video from TikTok. I've already found one. The press conference from today, latest news in a Friday news dump with policy going forward on Venezuela, and then trigonometry, which has fulfills the topic that you wanted. Counter arguments with TDS.
Yeah,
You didn't need TikTok for this because you got kissing, and you also Kissen gets arguably a lot of backlash online because they think he's a Israel supporting Zionist loving European who sells out his own race, and Francis the Turtle from a British comedian, which has complete TDS. Well,
that's amazing. That's amazing.
technically both have TDS
That's
because
interesting.
that's why
So
I
I will tell you this, Dragon. Just before we really dive deep into the Maduro stuff, do you have any thoughts on the woman in Minneapolis that decides to run over a ICE agent with her car and all of the backlash because she got shot? And depending which angle you watch the video, some people may say it's the ICE agent that lost his cool. Other people are saying, oh yeah, it's the lady that's a nutcase. I already kind of shared my thoughts. I think based on what I see in the political climate, I sense from the USA, because I can only say I sense it, I see it. I think that lady tried to run over a ICE agent that already had previous experience that really badly injured the guy. So the guy response is fight, otherwise you die. And he basically shot her, and there's that drama. So, any thoughts on that?
contrary, I may actually see. I've been avoiding looking into this not because it's just I've been doing my own streams, gaming, and the other things. But when I actually looked at a video and I sent have one, I looked in which is a source, sorry, from up there, and he happens to be in that same city where this occurred. He happened to be near the courthouse. In fact, this incident happened 2 blocks from his house, by the way. He happened to be in
That's
the
that's
he
that's
happened to
shocking.
be in the area from there, and it's a guy he took over for another law tuber, just to give you an idea.
And you know what bothers me the most is all of the press talking to GD Vance about what do you do to cool down things. And like, again, that's the freaking left that just not case. They are violent. They proved it times and times.
Right.
Like, I mean, what influencer, I say influencer because I know a lot of
Uh-huh.
political figure are being shot at, but what influencer on the left got shot by someone on the right that really said
Okay,
it's because you're left leaning?
let
Do
me
you
say
have
this.
any case of that happening?
Hold on. I do have cases, not left people, but here's something to consider. So this attorney, he's a defense attorney. He told the story about a couple of months ago. He had a person falsely accused of SA. and by a 15-year-old that he lost because she wanted another job so she could quit normal. She says she was SA'd by this immigrant. Not case is true. Now, ICE came to court to arrest the guy at the court date. Now, but he has also said he is not a fan of the activists blocking the streets. Now, all evidence, initial evidence from this incident right here, unless there's more, because Kristi Noem's response is bad. She immediately came out without any proof or anything, said the guy she tried to drive off with the guy in the car. Now, there's a bunch of different angles to this, like angle shots. There's a couple. Most of them that we see, yes, she was blocking the road. Bruce Rivers has talked about this as well. This has been happening. Now, very slow, she moved to let a car pass, and then these ICE officers are running around. There's a whole thing to them. They're going in unmarked cars or like black vehicles or silver trucks. Now, they're also being listened to by these whisper networks of these activists. Keep this in mind. Now, supposedly, this officer was involved. Someone tried to drive off and ram. Kristi Noem said she tried to drive off or ram him. I was like, no, not in this case. Now,
Hello, Michael. So one last thing about that entire car thing. I will ask this: if you go to a protest with a car, what do you expect? What do you try? What do you want? What do you do? Do you
there's
want to use that car as a weapon because you don't like firearms?
they think if they block these streets that they know these cars are going to go down. Now, this lady was going to possibly move. You also have her license plate. You could go arrest her at her house after you've done the investigation.
Fair enough. I like
Now,
it.
the issue itself is it looks, this is the problem. There's a problem with current ICE officers. Their training is being reportedly cut in half. They're being pulled from other departments. They're not as trained as they should be. And some of them are getting very gun shy. Now, all these activists need is one incident. One. And they can get class action. Now, this is like possibly a second one, similar to this. Now, this is more public. The videos I have seen, let it go to the grand jury, and I will guarantee you that that cop will be charged in front of a grand jury. Now,
That's a very good point. So
that's
this guy has been
actually
in ICE since 2016. Interesting. So
okay. Yeah, but see, here's the thing, the problem, Lucifer. The problem is every angle that has come out, it looks bad for ICE.
also for the for the girl, like again, I will reiterate what I said. One the video that shocked me the most is really like the guy is really in front of the car, but again, that's a mistake from the guy. But if you got someone in front of you, if there's a bunch of ICE people that ask you to pull over, you don't, and you just speed up in front of an ICE guy, you're a threat, you're a weapon. That's really what
She
I I,
backed up
I,
the
I
car,
think.
Multi. The problem is, before it happened, there was someone who was passing, tried to get it. She let a car pass. Another guy did too. They didn't realize there's ICE people. She backed up slightly to let another car go past. She was in a backup position. This is just one of the more better shots, and it looks very clear. The two people pull out in the pickup, and I guess the gun get the shot because she has her hand out the vehicle. Now, I'm assuming whatever the dialogue is, this is a 2-lane road. She's blocking it. They're politely asking her to move. Now, the problem is it looks like she was going forward, but the problem is when did the gunshot occur? If the gunshot occurred as before she tried to step on the gas, whatever else, or move, and if he was on the side of the car,
It was wrong. Oh, I see your point.
he's
I
in
like
the
it.
wrong. The
I like it.
officer is in the wrong. And all these videos coming out show the officer walking up to the car, not her gunning it to run the officer over. They're into the side of the car. Now, get what I'm saying? Why this is iffy and we need a full investigation? Yes. This is very clear cut that it's either going to go one way or another. Christy Nome is the one saying, she came out afterwards and said she tried to drive off. And if you saw almost everybody who's non-biased everywhere looked at this and said, huh? You look stupid. And even Christy Nome, outside the parody of her being done in South Park, even though it's accurate to Canadians, you guys talk out of the side of your mouth and you're slightly pixelated. Okay, never mind. You only know that if you know the South Park thing. But no, this incident needs it. Now, is the people who are using this to say ICE needs to be cracked down on, is there potential training being rushed? If a city is not supporting, these ICE raids are going off without. They're basically what's happening is a lot of these ICE warrants are being done in unmarked cars, but most of the people know they're marked cars. Now, the problem is this lady was found to be a member of an organization listening in through a whisper network. Now, but she wasn't doing anything criminal. She was just blocking a road. But she knew the road they were going down.
So and again, I think that's organized. That really sound like an organized protest. But what I can also say, let's just say she was in the right to protest. Why bring your car? Why? I think it's really stupid. Look, there are protests like the trucker protests in Canada that I feel like that was justified to have a bunch of trucks around, and even there, like nothing massive happened. Nobody got really eliminated to remain YouTube friendly. And now we just got one crazy lady in the car that gets shot at because
I need to bring up the video
lady.
that one of Trudeau's mounted police trampled an old lady with a horse?
Oh yeah, I remember. Oh yeah.
Do I need to fucking?
I forgot about that. You know what? That's
Did you forget about that?
I forgot about that. That's right. You know what?
She actually, one of the mounted police. I don't know if it was a Mountie. It was when the city cut.
Yeah, that was a Mountie.
Basically trampled a woman with a horse. A couple of protesters. Nobody said shit.
So I gotta say this. Again, if you go to a protest, why bring a car? I've seen so many protests. And I've seen a lot. Like I'm in the hellscape of protests. Like every week and then there's a protest in my city because people are not case and looks like everyone complains about everything and there's always a protest. And not every protest has cars. So like again, I'm sure it'll be in Dev Trucker video. Well, probably, but again, to go back to what I was saying. Why do you bring a weapon? Because a car is a weapon, especially if you want to block a road like that. Um, it's dangerous for everyone, and now she got shot, so apparently it was also dangerous for her. But anyway, like when you radicalize like that, you shouldn't be like putting yourself in a place where you're a threat.
No,
Like protest is fine, protesting is fine, but if you protest with a weapon, then it's wrong. And I think a car is kind of wrong.
let me give you a little bit of a hypothetical. All right, here, let me give you one. So a lot of these protests are interesting because if you look at the more radical versions, I think of these types of protests, whether you think it or not, the problem is like the Antifa style. Now go back to January 6th. Now January 6th is a very interesting case.
That was
Everyone
full chaos.
everyone thinks Trump was saying everyone needs to go to the Capitol, right? Now, here's the problem. The ones who set up the actual supposed jokingly, if you want to think years later, hangman's noose for Pence, there were Antifa and weird independent libertarians in that crowd wanting violence that weren't MAGA. Now,
Why am I not surprised? It's
there
always
were,
freaking Antifa.
and
Like,
there were
they should be in jail. If you're a proud Antifa, like I think you cross the line of freedom of expression or freedom of speech simply
so
because that group advocate for ending people's lives.
so you had this happen, and everyone got labeled it. Now, does the left, and I have said this about the left and the progressives in the United States, do I think that they have a radical problem? Yes. But then again,
Hopefully, you say yes.
this is the issue with Minnesota. Minnesota and Michigan both are having serious issues. Minnesota is dealing with the Somali daycare issue.
The fraud issue. The empty
They're dealing
daycares.
with a bunch of major things, and it's turned into a leftist hellhole. Now, I will say this ICE thing is just the icing on the cake to cause an issue, but it's enough that. But again, I'm going to go back and say the response by Kristi Noem was bad. She should have said, "We're going to investigate it." That's why the White House is being quiet and it's being deferred to by the DOJ.
But you know what? You know what? What could be funny is if you guys truly annex us and you let us vote. That's the end of the Republican Party, folks. Anyway, that was the tangent about
that's why I said, why do you think all of this was going to be covered? Not covered. That's why I said you don't need the TikTok video. Leave it to Kissin and Francis. Lucifer the Doberman knows of trigonometry.
Yeah.
Both have
By the way,
TDS.
I will send you the video I put together. I think we have a lot of relevant things and download it. So I will send it to you and you will download it. But again, I think that crazy woman, man, she needed help. I think most radicals, like if you think about joining Antifa, I think you need to
We
consult,
don't
to
know
be
what
honest.
organization she was a part of. We don't. And the thing about this is, we'll probably never know. And I can guarantee you, if she's part of one of these whisper networks who use chats that as soon as they're sent, they disappear, you're not going to find out. There's a encrypted chats. If they're with Substacks, if you're really smart, you know how to use it. But the problem is no one's asking the question, how did they know what road they were going down?
Yeah.
Now,
So, Dragon, did you download what I just sent you? I'm asking because now we may dive deep into Maduro getting arrested by the USA. Um, And that will be very fun TDS we will be covering today because people are kind of crazy on that one as well. I just feel like people are losing their mind. I don't know what's going on. Like I think it's like COVID has like lasting effect. Even like 6 years later, people still didn't recover from that, and we are just surrounded by the crazies. it's it's amazing. Um, I
I don't think it's that. Here's the problem with a lot of the. Do you know what's funny?
let me know once you downloaded
I
the
am.
videos.
It's in the process. I'm going
Okay,
to say this. There's this thing with Maduro being captured. I didn't lose my mind over it. I kind of knew what the
but the
response.
left did.
Here's the problem. TikTok's not a real place. Second off, you could just leave it to people like trigonometry or the leftoids online who actually believe Trump's going to enact a global policy. What's funny is if I said this on my stream the other day when I was talking with people over some drama. I said if I wanted to, I'm not saying. I said jokingly, shoot myself. No, don't think of it the way, because I had to watch this video and it that I'm gonna. You want the because you go. I want the other one. Like okay, let me send you the trigonometry out. I said this the other day. I don't want to give you the trigonometry one because I'll want to scream. Because if you know anything about kissing and trigonometry at the moment, you ooh, they are special. They are occasionally a form of, pardon the phrase, retarded. Literally kissing makes the phrase. Let me see, where did it get put? I see, it's my problem. I did not move things. And it got moved into.
Did it work?
Yes, it did. It got moved
So
into a
so the
folder.
order we will be doing things, we will first off cover what I basically sent you,
Yours
and
is
then
shorter than mine.
yeah,
And
but then after we will cover the thing with the White House with Trump and that you sent me, and the last one we will be covering is the two TDS people that will talk about Venezuela and such. So
the
we
thing
start
about
with
that,
mine
yeah, the thing
because it's
about
a good warm up, and then we go over to the two you sent me, and that will be the rest of the stream.
I need to not lose my. I'll start with yours first. No, but you're the problem is I've been very on top of these things. Problem is I don't trust TikTok as a damn platform, so you
I
shouldn't.
find that funny. Look, it's not the best platform, but
Oh,
you find so much brain rot. It's just
then I got
amazing.
told by someone today that I got told by I got told today by somebody that TikTok is not real. Like apparently TikTok's not Chinese propaganda, but and I'm too political.
I think China is everywhere, to be honest, and that sounds
There's a
like
theory
complete.
to this. You can't explain it to people. I can tell you anything is linked. ByteDance was linked to it. So
So let's react to what I put together from TikTok.
Venezuela's president immediately. Yeah, China says the capture of Nicolas Maduro in Caracas crosses a serious line. Breaking news. China is demanding that the U.S. release Venezuela's president immediately. Yeah, China says the capture of Nicolas Maduro in Caracas crosses a serious line, calling it.
So it's funny how China says that. I can't remember the exact statement they put out, but they were against Trump, and I feel like they think they have the moral ground just because Canada is on their side and against Trump. But it's kind of crazy because who is uh pushing fentanyl to other countries to destroy them from the inside? China.
I got
Um,
told that was a myth too by this a European guy, but he also believes Jews control everything. But
It's not a myth. Like, we have proof of that kind of network, and we have Sam Cooper, that's a great journalist that put his life on the line to do very investigative stuff. And it's actually true in Canada that China are the one that are pushing for fentanyl in our streets. And China was also with Venezuela, deep with them, and they were attacking the USA using Venezuela as their proxy. So again, China is that communist country that jails people that disagree with them, that tells people that fled their regime because they think Chinese people are their tool and not human beings. That's really the mentality and the philosophy of that disgusting regime. And like, they think that they are the voice of reason. They think they are the voice of morality. It's laughable. It's insulting to people intelligence. But they know it will work with the left. Like, I strongly believe the left is trusting too much of the wrong people. When you trust more China than the USA, I'm sorry, but like, you're beyond saving at that point. Again, the USA isn't perfect, but at least they don't do like sneak attack behind. They tell you in your face, like, get your stuff together.
So bear with me here. This is just the idea, and I'm going to give it a nutshell on how China operates. China has been, and I said this to the person, and they think I'm crazy, but the problem is this is an actual theory. For about 20 plus years, since about 2000, there was a document drafted by the Chinese. They feared the imperialism, or whatever they thought, the dictatorial parts of the United States. Bear in mind, this was about the same era that Command and Conquer Generals came out too, that jokingly predicted China with a global power and we're going to hack everybody. Now, that game is destined never to be remade because of what's in it. It's too truthful and honest because it also has Arab terrorists. Now, China announced that they were going to commence a war on the West. Now,
And
they did.
and they really started it, first of all, and second, they are the ones that are saying by 2048 they will be the most powerful nation to celebrate the 100 years of the Chinese Communist Party.
No, here's what I was going to say. There's a thing in their plan was, if you go back to it, because the joke was the Chinese would hack everybody and just get in and talk to people. So, like, if we say TikTok is and other apps were just ways to get into our nation and the rest of the world, the West, to destabilize it. Because if you look, this was the Chinese, just to give you an idea. They hated the influx of Koreans into their culture because they thought Korean boy bands were feminizing their boys. Now, when you look at our TikTok, what they do, because ByteDance was confirmed to be okay, every corporation that is in China is owned or has influence that they have to answer to the CCP. Now, knowing that, our Congress talked to the TikTok CEO and confirmed this. Now, this goes against our information policies and why we ordered it to be sold. Now, flash forward, TikTok is one side of the equation because when you look at their social media, it's nothing like ours. So whatever they've been doing on the West and the stuff with the fentanyl going through Mexico with the cartels, again, a conspiracy theory, proven. You've heard it in Canada, we've heard it in the US, but apparently it's delusion according to some Europeans who believe Jews run the world. But in a serious note, China's been working underneath the covers for a while to destabilize the West.
And they've been buying, like, in the 90s. At some point they bought lots of houses and properties in Vancouver, and they moved many women so they can have many kids that ultimately have Chinese Chinese descent, but also Canadian citizenship.
Yeah.
So that'd be easier for them to take over British Columbia. That's also why Vancouver and British Columbia is I'd say the second most progressive province. It's because it's the most influenced by China and their crazy idea of a centralized power and centralized government.
It's because you don't think you think a bunch of Chinese are moving in, you just think it's, oh, maybe a bunch of people moving into a neighborhood or buying
But no,
houses or
that's a takeover.
property. No, and this is what we've been finding out about a lot of. Now, I will say this: the Chinese they made a lot of their money on real estate loans, and when that bubble burst, that's why they have ghosts. They're called ghost cities because these are like cities that are like the size of New York City in China, or neighborhoods, skyscrapers no one can live in. They made a lot of their money on real estate money or by robbing their own citizens to buy property around the world. Now, this is what's something that's funny about China's war on the West. Now, this is why I won't ever install Epic on my computer or play a game by Tencent. They data mine like a fat people. So the thing about when you talk a lot of these people, this has been coming true. Now, if you mention this to people, they'll go, "Oh, but Israel." I'm like, no. They'll think we're crazy. But hey. But the thing about this Maduro thing, Maduro was an ally in Italy. Little big backstory. They'll find
And
out.
Maduro was Xi Jinping friend. Xi Jinping is the communist, dangerous individual that wants to take over
Here's
the
the thing.
world.
Most of Latin America has been working with the Chinese on the Belt and Road Initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative is so if the International Monetary Fund puts a nation in debt so they have influence through the World Economic Forum, Belt and Road goes into nations that are developing nations to get the silicone, the aluminum, the various resources out to send back to China the mining rights and whatever else. It doesn't stay in that country. It goes back to China so China can use the silicone or the other stuff to make the material.
I will also say this. I really feel like maybe China will start thinking about invading Taiwan. So again, they think they have the moral high ground just because Canada supports them or because they like to pretend they are. But anyway, let's play more of that because it's only the start of.
You're good, but now let me say on the Taiwan thing really quick. That's not going to happen. I would have said that a long time ago. They're not going to do that because the moment you attack Taiwan, that's a very big logistical. And if you take into somewhere that's producing 60% of the semiconductors in the world, 65%, you damage any of that, the world will come after you. And if I said this was a decade ago, every year they wait. It's worse because Taiwan still makes about 60% of the semiconductors in the world. Good luck. Semiconductors are used in everything.
That's interesting.
A violation of international law and warning that no country has the right to act as the world.
International law. China speaking out about that. It's hilarious. Like they're the one that tracked down Chinese people. It's crazy. It's just crazy for China to think they have the moral high ground. Like really, it's nasty.
Police or the world's judge. You know they talking about the U.S. Chinese officials say they were in active talks with Venezuela right up until the moment Maduro was taken, even hosting a Chinese
It's like begging for Trump to do something because Trump knows China is a threat to USA and to the world. Again, so they really give ammo to the USA, I think, in this meeting and all. It's
delegation
crazy.
in Caracas just hours before the operation, which makes this hit even harder from their perspective. Images of Maduro being detained by U.S. forces have
I'm
sparked
sorry, that's
outrage
Dr.
in Beijing,
Disrespect.
where China says sovereignty and national security are supposed to be protected under global law, not overridden by force. Now,
Yet, they have these covert operation. They sneak attack countries like Canada and USA. Again, I just think they are really hypocrite, or they know they are doing they know they are doing it, but they try to pretend they don't, and they like to put on a
Okay,
show.
I'm gonna
Maduro
ask. Oh, it's like I'm gonna ask this question. It's actually a real case. Putin has been indicted by the World Court. He comes to Canada. Would you have him arrested if you were a leader?
What? Can you repeat? I had a glitch in the system.
Okay, Putin has been convicted, not convicted or indicted by the World Court to be arrested and brought up for charges for what has happened in Ukraine. All right,
Yeah,
following?
yeah.
He steps foot in Canada.
I
You're the
got the
Canadian
power to
Prime
arrest
Minister.
him.
Would you arrest him?
To be honest, I don't know. I would consider it for sure, 100%, because I know it's bad news. But
So,
my hatred for China is just much bigger.
do you know why
But
why I asked this?
why?
So, Trump, they have this. Would you arrest? Would you, as I said, would you arrest Putin? He could just appear and haul him off to the World Court. The problem is, do you recognize the power of the World Court and the UN to keep stuff? This is the trick. So when they talk about international law, international courts can't even uphold their own laws.
That's true.
And they expect, and what's funny, the UN Human Rights Council has both, or had at one point, both China and Iran on it.
That's interesting. And I will also say this: like, there's that argument out there that the USA was actually a force of good at some extent. Like, it's rooted in Christianity, and like they had to restrain themselves so they don't eat up other countries. But then they realized China doesn't give a crap, and they will just eat up anything they can eat. So now Trump is like, you know what? Why should I fight with my hand and my back while the others don't do that? And this is what's going on right now. But imagine if role were reversed. Do you really think China, that enslaves their own people and that tracks down their own people, they would be as gentle as the USA were for like almost 100 years? I don't think so. I just don't think so. Like, I truly believe, deep rooted in the kind of regime China pushed for 100 years now, there's just no place for empathy. There's just no place for good. It's really people on top wants to be in charge and they want centralized power. This is exactly that. And when you really compare to how the USA act and are, there's the entire body. They have power, but there are two sides of that body. And not only there are two sides, but when you're inside that country, if you don't break the law, you're mostly free. And if you decide to leave, except if you're like a former military or a person of interest, if you leave the USA, um, maybe you will be fine. But if a citizen from China leaves China, he will be tracked down, even if he's not a person of interest. China sees people as pawns. and I won't say USA doesn't do the same, but like at least USA has some kind of dignity to it, while China is like, you're my slave. You're born a Chinaman. You're not free. You're a Chinese effective. Well, in the USA, I think, and I might be wrong on that because maybe I have that fantasy about USA, but I think the common belief in the USA, you're born free and you should be free. Well, in China, it's not that mentality at all. Am I right? Am I wrong, Dragon?
China has a tendency, like, okay. So in 89, they had. So around the late 80s, China started developing a democracy movement. Everyone knows of Tiananmen Square in 89. Now, the funny thing about this is the 89 protests, they were going to starve them out. Now, that's where the famous image of in Tiananmen Square, where they were, the Chinese democracy movement, they ran the guy over with a tank. Now, China eventually commissioned an entire reworking of Tiananmen Square, then changed the culture that Tiananmen Square was never talked about, as those people who were involved either were imprisoned or likely fled to America or more friendly countries. Now, in the modern era, China, the irony is, you ask a Chinese person, because in Division 2, we make fun of the Chinese. They'll always be like, oh, Tiananmen Square, 1989. They don't know what it is because Tiananmen Square has been redesigned. They, in a cultural mindset, they are conditioned to believe it, to believe CCP is good or the state control is good.
And it's crazy. No, it's not. No entity like the government can be good in nature. They can do good things, they can do bad things, but I think in nature they are stone cold to whoever is in power wants. If we got a good person in power that has empathy and that wants to treat people like humans, this will kind of reflect in some of the policies, or at least it will try to. But if you got like someone like Xi Jinping that sees people as pawn, well, nothing good can come out of it. It's just disgusting. So let's play more of that. And I'm sad because I see so much parallel with what's going on with Canada right now. Like most liberal voter, they think they are the good. They think, yeah, it's for the small people, it's for the weak, it's for the less fortunate that we take that ballot there. And in the meantime, the liberals push for censorship. It's just awful. Let's play more of that.
And his wife are set to appear in a New York court while just blocks away, the UN Security Council is preparing to debate the legality of the seizure, with China, Russia, and others backing the discussion, and the UN.
Russia is also playing with Venezuela. So these resources are not, they are not like serious point. It's like saying, you know what, that opposition marks the point. That, yeah, sure, like the point of the opposition is to oppose. And because now Venezuela, the biggest ally of Russia and freaking China, has been taken out, like they are angry because that's their friend. Of course they will be angry. It's you cannot take them seriously at all.
Secretary General warning this could set a dangerous precedent. China breaking news. China is demanding that the U.S. release Venezuela.
So what we are seeing is protests, and I have a co-worker that has cousin that live in Venezuela, and he says nothing changed, and they are scared to go in the street because the dictator regime is still around. They only took off the head, but the body is still there, and um, it's it's sad, and I see these people happy and celebrating. They're not in Venezuela, because if you're in Venezuela and you celebrate like that, and someone from the regime that's still there, they'll take you out. That's communist, that's socialist people. They don't allow dissent. Dissent goes against the centralized power any authoritarian totalitarian regime wants. So they will keep these dissent quiet. And I can't find the original video, but I've seen the video floating around a lot of some people from Maduro that were driving cars through protesters. Therefore, protesters no longer wanted to protest after that, because they're like, if we protest, the regime will simply hit us and end our lives. This is what the left wants, but they don't realize it. Otherwise, they wouldn't want it. I think no leftist that realize what communists are doing would wish for that. I I think the only ones that really wants communism, and they know they're what they're getting, and they really wish to get that. I think the only ones like that are the one that they will know they will be in power. No people that will be the citizen or the victim of the communist will wish a communist regime. Only the so-called leader of a communist regime will ask for a communist regime. Um, am I crazy to speak that way, Dragon? If you're still around, Dragon. So the dragon is gone. So really, my idea is, if you're a citizen,
here, I'm just letting you.
Okay. So what do you think of that? So I will repeat the idea and the thesis or the hypothesis I have. I think most citizens don't wish for communism. They don't know what it truly means. They only want change. And the people that truly know communism and they wish communism, knowing fully what it means, are the ones that will be in power because they know they will be in power. But really,
I think when you have a population, okay, so the great myth of the West. Someday I may have to take you down the rabbit hole. I'm going to have to introduce you to talking about Alexander Gramsci. Now, Gramsci's idea, in a nutshell, he was an Italian fascist, worked under Benito Mussolini, eventually imprisoned and killed. They cannot win the culture if you blunt force change it. Now, if you slowly change culture over time, you can bend culture to believe what you want it to believe, conditioned through ideology. Because I was thinking this as I had to walk to the kitchen. So you think of all through the time, right? Think of this as you're nudging the culture and changing the culture as the generations go by. Modern culture in the West, don't think that socialism is bad. They'll partition the anti-Semitic people who just believe that stuff has gone through the roof. But on the flip side, you have a bunch of people taught by teachers that democracy and capitalism is bad. Now, but take a look at something like Iran. Iran in the modern day, majority of the population is under 30. They don't know any other system. In China, a large majority of the people under the Chinese regime don't know anything other than the Chinese CCP propaganda. In the US, they're being taught that potential socialism is not as bad as it appears. So, does that help you out? Because one day I'm going to explain to you about Alexander Gramsci and his effect on everything in socialism and used as a playbook for everybody for the last 50 plus years. So.
Venezuela's free. If that's the case, then go back to Venezuela. Go build your country. Because so many of them left their countries and then they advocate for bombs, chanting that we don't want Maduro, our country is free, Venezuela's free. If that's the...
Oh, by the way, here's what's funny. Watch her make the argument. Everyone talks about all these foreigners flee their country. The Indians, the Pakistanis, all these immigrants want to talk shit and move to places like Europe. See all the Islamic immigrants that moved to Europe?
And they are not happy in the new regime.
The Saudis dislike them. You know why? Because the problem is they view them as radical jihadists. This is the Saudis. The Saudis don't like the Pakistanis because they're too religious fundamentalist. Now, they don't. So when the Indians come to like Great Britain, or the Somalis do, or the Africans, they're not trying to improve the culture and fix it. They're changing the culture there to do it. But they don't take that back home. Or they take the earnings they make here, send it back to Venezuela or Mexico. Think about it.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. And again, that lady is like, but go there and you'll see later on she pushes the idea that Maduro is a good thing. Anyway, let's play more of that. It's hilarious. I was watching that. I was rolling my eyes, really.
Case, then go back to Venezuela. Go build your country. Because so many of them left their countries and then they advocate for bombs in their own countries. In any part of this world, someone would consider you a traitor.
U.S. and
up to that point, she's kind of based. She makes sense. But like when she comes back, I'm like, is it two different persons speaking? But look at that free Maduro with the red armor. Like communist regime are known to end their political opponents.
No, this happens every time, Multi.
But I see that.
This is always the meme.
I'm shattered. I'm dying inside. I see that. And I will also flip the argument on it. Said, if you guys were in a totalitarian state and your government disagrees with another government and you have that protest right now saying, we don't like Trump because he did something we don't like to Venezuela, what do you think will happen? A truck will run you over. Like, they will jail you. It's crazy to really preach for totalitarian states to take over. And that person is probably like, I don't know, 20 or 30 years old, like tops. I don't believe that person is any older than that, but that person seemed to struggle with mental illness overall, because just the way they speak, just it sounds so brainwashed. It's comical. I will let it play out, but like I see that, I'm like, that person is a scholar for sure, and you will think he's better than anyone that doesn't have like his degrees in, like, I don't know, like woke science or some crap like that.
Imperialist country cannot meddle in sovereign nation politics. It's a blatant attempt at further colonization of Latin.
And that's hypocrite. He's complaining that the states is playing in other states. What are you doing right now in the streets? You complain that another leader was taken out. So the idea of being against your state, taking a position against another state, it falls apart the moment you're not even part of that community. You're not in Venezuela right now. You are in the USA, and you have that protest against Trump, saying Trump shouldn't mess with other countries the way he do, or he does. Like he is pushing USA shouldn't be involved. Okay, then why are you there in the street if USA shouldn't be involved? Why you're there? Why is it your business if it's not your country's business? It's so hypocrite. It's hilarious.
America.
The
White
American
people.
government has now become a mercenary for hire for disgruntled immigrants from other countries, to the point that it has violated our own constitution. Listen to the American people. We don't want any more foreign intervention. We don't want to keep going all over the world. We have problems here at home.
It's a return to nature.
And you see, this is somewhat based, but I feel like she forgot USC keeps doing that all the time. And I also think she doesn't realize other countries also do it. Is it right? Is it wrong? Only government should say if it's right or wrong. But what she is saying is we should solve what's wrong here before solving other countries. What if parts of what's wrong in our country is caused by the other country? I think Venezuela's substance to remain YouTube friendly is an issue for the States. I think China getting rich over Venezuela oil is another issue for the States. So again, I think they are solving issues at home, and they also solve issues like Venezuela that impact home as well. Anyway, let's hear about that other communist.
Colonialism of the 19th century. Trump has said he looks to the era of 1877 to 1914 as the time when America was great. I think the people of the world have moved on from that time.
We didn't. It's actually worse because we are so divided, we are so brainwashed, and we are angry at the USA being imperialist while China does the exact same and doesn't get the same kind of scrutiny. When we speak about China, the only negative thing we have to say is, oh, they jail people for speaking out against the regime, but they don't realize China is meddling around other countries. They get involved in places they shouldn't. They influence politics everywhere. But hey, it's China. It's fine if they are an empire. It's wrong if the States are. It's ridiculous. The brainwash is bad.
So here's
We're
the
living
thing
in
in
the
a
21st.
nutshell. One sec. Anti-colonialism has been an attitude since the fall of the British Empire. One of the last great countries controlled by the British Empire was India. Now, India, if you go back, what is the history of anti-colonialism? Modern people, at least in the West, are taught that anti-colonialism, the beliefs of it. Now, regardless if you think what happened during colonized Africa and stuff like that was bad or good, the effects are there. Now, a lot of people are taught by current professors, like the 1619 Project. They've always been colonialist, or we started slavery through it. They actually legit believe this because they've either been told it or they find it out in culture. It is ingrained because they are taught that in history. So, there you go. Answers your question.
And again, I find that crazy. Like China can do imperialism, but not USA. Sure, great, amazing.
Century.
Free Maduro because he was the president of a sovereign nation.
It wasn't sovereign. It's being influenced by China and Russia. It's a state run by a substance kingpin to remain YouTube friendly. Maduro sells substance. Maduro run over protesters.
Maduro basically led a regime that was supporting terrorists and drug organizations. That's what led to his removal.
Yeah.
That's why we offered him a peaceful way out. Just get through this, and you'll see what really happened.
And at least he's still alive, you know? Like, it's not a Biden case, Osama bin Laden, or like the other we took out. Let's play more.
The U.S. has no right to, without congressional approval, bomb a country's capital, killing civilians.
And based on what I heard, they didn't end any civilian lives. Only military effective were hurt or quickly to remain user friendly. So someone saying bombing and ending civilian lives, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's misinformation spread by the left just to incite hate toward Trump and the administration. And it's not the first time, again, the USA does that. And yeah, it's disgusting. And look, I had that argument. Why didn't he get Congress approval? Well, first of all, maybe if some people are pro-Venezuela, they can backstab you. That's the first thing. The second thing, maybe they can block you and then run on that for the next election.
Let me know. So, Trump and the president can do special forces operations under police actions. All we can do is file a civil case against Trump, right? That's all we can do. If you hate Trump, file a civil case. But he is commander-in-chief. Got it? He is commander of the military. He can order the military to do a police action. You can do continuing resolutions. So if he has to sign off on an operation, he can do it. Does that make sense? They can't question it. Now, if that action, military action, has consequences, you can take it to a court and go through that measure.
Yeah, let's play more of that. But again, I think it's not a new thing. It's always been something. And I also think because Trump was elected, it kind of justify to some extent what he is doing. And I say that I'm really hurt inside because we elected Carney, and that's a clown that does clown stuff all around the globe. But yeah, let's play more.
Kidnapping their president. Message to Maduro is you have
It's better than shooting a bullet in the head of the guy.
Supporters, you have people defending your right to sovereignty, you have people defending your right to freedom and liberation.
What about the rights of the people that fled Venezuela because of the dictator? Again, that's the mentality of the left. Protect the oppressor and forget about the oppressed.
From U.S. capitalist prisons.
Trump just pardoned a narco-terrorist, so it's not about narco-terrorism. That's a bogus one. And then some of the other charges are like possession of machine guns. Well, that makes sense. He is the president of a sovereign nation that has a military. Well, yes, he is the president. Que se vaya, por favor, que se vaya. No estoy hablando contigo.
Venezuela has a vice president to succeed Maduro in the interim, and they have a functional government. They do not
a functional dictatorship. But sure, call it a government if you want.
Need U.S. imperialists to run their nation.
They actually need to if the people actually want a chance at a democracy.
This is absolutely insane, and it really does go to show that really international law does not exist. It's up to the Venezuelan people. If they want to, press charges against him, he needs to be pressed charges in Venezuela, in his country.
It's all corrupt there. This is when she is cuckoo. This is when she's not making sense anymore. She's like, oh, the Venezuelan people should solve it. They could not solve it. They've been under tyrants for 30 years. Before Maduro, that was Chavez or whatever the name of the guy before Maduro that was. So for her to say the Venezuela people should be in charge of that, no, they can't. They can't handle it. I'm sorry, but they don't have guns. And when they tried to protest, they got run over. So they have no way of solving it. So thanks, USA. You were the ones that ended that regime. Hopefully. Finger crossed.
Because he's accountable to his people, not Americans. They're chanting that we don't want Maduro, our country is free, Venezuela is free.
So we are celebrating here. I left my country like 20 years ago because Chavez and then Maduro. So we are celebrating here. We stand with freedom for Venezuela. Maybe if you don't like Trump, you need to accept that what happening today, it's about human rights. It's about freedom.
These concepts are foreign. These concepts are not understood by communist regime. The communist regime, they don't give a crap about rights. They jail you because they oppose the centralized power. The communist regime, they like centralized power. Anyone that comes and tries to block it, they die. They are no longer in the way. So I like to hear that breath of fresh air on TikTok. It's so much full of brain rot. So I'm glad we got that good example of someone that's actually making sense and all of that.
Country who has been in a crisis, terrible crisis, not just economic, it's just about human rights. In Venezuela, Maduro have torture centers where are in this moment innocent young people and women, innocent, tortured, thousands of people. And we can't describe how we feel this moment. So for people, I know a lot of New Yorkers don't like Trump, but please think about.
This is pure TDS. It's hilarious. It's tragic.
Just liberating a country from a horrible dictatorship and human rights. If you believe in human rights, you have to celebrate with us.
And what's your name?
Adriana Torres.
Spell it for me.
ADRIANATORRES.
And where in Venezuela are you from?
Caracas.
When did you move here?
2005.
2005. And where do you live now?
In Manhattan.
In Manhattan. And do you have family there?
Yes, my mom.
And what's the situation like there now? What are they saying?
They are so happy. They can speak out. You have to understand, they can speak out. They have received a WhatsApp message and they had to delete, okay? Because if they find something against the government, they take you to the jail, torture center. Very clear.
Again, that goes back to what I was saying. Someone that wishes communism, if it's a citizen, if it's someone that will live on the arm of the state, they don't see that reality. They don't see the danger. They don't realize how bad it can be to have centralized power. And only a dictator, only someone that will benefit from communism will actually stand by that and say, you know what, that's fair shot that if someone says something bad to someone else about the regime, let's jail them, let's off them to remain YouTube friendly. So again, all of these protesters that are like free Maduro, they should hear that testimony. That person seem and sound like probably someone that's from Venezuela or that has people, relative that are from Venezuela. So she knows, she lived through that trap. And she knows we don't want that as citizen, and only terrible human being would wish that upon others, or greed and power hungry people, because they do exist, especially in politics.
And my mom called me January 3rd in 4 a.m. Like, this is happening and we are grateful and we are happy and we're safe.
Mm-hmm. And what was she doing when he was captured, when they
She lived around, but she just felt the explosion.
Who rigged the election system and threw out, i.e. exiled. Maduro was not the president of Venezuela. He was a dictator who rigged the election system and threw out, i.e. exiled, the person who did win, Gonzalez. This is, by the way, how America was allowed to detain him, but they detained him for acts of criminal behavior, i.e. running a drug cartel, not because of his presidency. But let's break down how this actually law works. In Venezuela...
And they also arrested the guy because he was giving oil to freaking China and Russia, two threats to the USA. And yeah.
To win an election, you need to be familiar with the term the acta. This is the tally sheet. Whenever you vote in Venezuela, a machine prints out the receipt, and then every political party gets a copy, and this is the evidence of who actually won the elections. Now, surprise, surprise, in the 2024 elections, Maduro didn't publish any of the actual evidence. He just claimed, with a media company that he owns, that he won 50% of the electorates. But the opposition...
Media company that he owns. This sounds like Canada with radio, CBC, BS, brainwash, corporation, whatever.
The opposition knew that this was going to happen, and they were led by Machado, the amazing woman who won the Nobel Peace Prize this year and then presented it to Trump. Remember that whole story? So they had thousands of volunteers actually steal the actas and smuggle them out. They got 83% of these receipts, in which the evidence was clear. Gonzalez won by 67%. Which means that if you believe in a democratic system, Gonzalez is actually the president. However, seeing as Maduro is a dictator, he acts as the de facto president because he just wouldn't leave, and he threatened.
And it's funny because I can bet that 30% is Maduro family and friends, and maybe some of the mercenary he had given the right to vote. It's like everyone that stood by the regime voted for the regime, and like the pleb, the people that are suffering from the regime, don't want the regime anymore. I don't know, like it's sus, it's hilarious, it's sad, it's tragic. I see that was something that was happening in Venezuela, and I see lots of parallels with freaking China there. Because this is what we are in Canada. We are China there.
Gonzalez, who then had to flee to Spain. He's what we call a usurper. He's occupying a seat that isn't his. And now Maria Corina Machado is calling on Gonzalez to return because now Trump took Maduro to the United States. He's on a ship awaiting trial in New York, where they plan on indicting him for acts of smuggling and drug cartel and abuse, etc., etc., etc. And hopefully Gonzalez will be sworn in because he was the one who was actually voted in. You're welcome. Maduro was not the president of Venezuela. He was a dictator who...
And that video I decided to put together because that was many interesting clips. Now we can play the Trump video you sent me, if you are still around, buddy. So this is exactly what's going on with Maduro. We got several different opinions, some nutcase that are scholars, so they pretend they are smart. And
no, let me tell you, trigonometry is very...
We will cover both.
No. Let me give you the aspect. This is two different crowds. The one I'm going to have both. It's depending on. So the thing is, this is the conference. So Friday news conferences according. Now, it's not that trigonometry is not... There are like professors that think they're smart. One guy is actually the thing. I'll explain. Kisin is an interesting individual because he is the European guy who grew up in... He's supposed to be of Slavic origin. Hold on, before you start this. Kisin is supposed to be of Slavic origin. He gained his fame by debating stupid college students on why communism and socialism and green policy is stupid. Now, his podcast that he turned it into, he's trying to do the centrism, but he has also been the leading person who's been trying to do the woke right stuff. But bear in mind.
Perfect. Let's play.
Kissin's a little bit special.
Let's play what the White House had to say.
This is the conference. No, let me say this before you start. This is the conference as of today. This is the J.D. Vance, and this is the plan for Venezuela. Now, the idea is it's contrary to the narrative, and it cleans up a lot. But this is also the idea. There is Q&A from it. And then because you'll see the reporters ask the question, and then there is what we're going to do. So this is not the 100% plan. This is the plan going forward. Now, when a story like this is done, Friday, usually Fridays are news dump days. Trump just did this, but he did this, and it's probably going to be forgotten over the weekend. But now that you get the concept of it. So, or I guess I'll let it go. Fine. Now you know. Oh God, the volume is terrible.
Right far, I would say. And we're doing tremendous things. Our country is doing very well. You saw the numbers that got released today, yesterday. Deficits cut way, way, way back at levels that nobody's ever seen
We'll
before.
see about this.
Setting records. And the numbers coming into our country are unprecedented. And we're doing really well.
So
we had a situation 3 days ago.
what he is talking about is the trade deficit from the tariffs. We gained basically it's like half a billion or something, like a half a trillion in deficit from the tariffs that we're implying that we were losing to people around the world. And that's the tariffs. Everyone was getting scared. Oh, the tariffs are meant to be. It was meant to even out trade. So
With Venezuela, and we're getting along extremely well with the people of Venezuela, both the people and
did you know that's what the tariffs, he was talking about the trade deficit? That's what the
Yeah,
tariffs
I heard about it.
Now you get the idea.
Yeah.
Because that's all going to go into a general fund for the government.
Yeah, and again, that's America first, and I adore it. It's amazing.
I just want to thank our military. What they've done is incredible. That was
you're
and also the other thing with the tariffs is you cannot pressure weaker economies to give away stuff or to give you their factories and their effective and that
jobs
kind of
here,
stuff.
because part of what is going to be in the bid terms is Taiwan, right? So the people, I forget the company that makes NVIDIA and they make that stuff, MSI, they were opening up 5 plants in Arizona. Now, the idea is everyone's talked about the tariffs. We raked in a lot of money on the tariffs. Now, people think, oh, you're just making these other countries bad. No, we had such a trade deficit to China, it's not funny.
To Canada, that must be worse. Our economy is down the drain.
Jesus. Yeah. I get the idea.
It's
So,
unprecedented to go into a military fort with thousands of soldiers and others.
It's kind of exaggeration.
With,
it's Delta Force.
152 planes going every which way, and very rapid speeds and helicopters, and to come out with no deaths and the loss of no equipment. It was pretty amazing.
It's actually surprising. That was Delta Force.
I was called by the leaders of
Delta Force is an
numerous
interesting.
countries. I won't go into which ones, but the biggest and the strongest, and they said that was very impressive. They're all impressed. But today I'm delighted to welcome almost 24 of the biggest and most respected oil and gas executives in the world to the White House. It's an honor to be with them. We have many others that were not able to get in. I said
and I just want to draw that parallel between Canada and the USA, because I'm in Canada and I'm impressed how much spin the government tries to do to pretend it does something good and something right. People go to America. People want America. People are like, we want to deal with you. And Canada is left in the dust. Nobody wants Canada. Like, for people to invest in Canada, they need to be guaranteed like possession of something, like minerals or that kind of stuff. And it's kind of crazy that we kind of twist people arm for them to invest here. It's nasty. It's just so different.
So the thing about what he's talking about with okay, so we have two options. Now he's going to get into this. This is okay. So after we took Maduro out, yes, there was the lady who was the head of. She wasn't the head. She unironically got the Nobel Peace Prize. I laugh, but it sounds terrible. But she's the one that they're like, oh yeah, that's new in Maduro. Because the thing about this is, very few governments balked that we did it. Now, what you hear is the official line. The reason I didn't pull the press conference the day he did it, it's kind of rather boring. It doesn't have the details. Now, the thing about this is a meeting to discuss the oil exploration, because people think we were going to just go down there and seize Venezuela. You'll see that in the trigonometry. But this is Trump and the executives talking about we're going to give it the economy, try to give it back to the Venezuelan people, and pray it's not stolen.
That's funny. How you say pray it's not stolen.
Do you think I'm joking?
We had a ball.
No, you're not joking. That's just hilarious because I know it's freaking true. It's so sad.
Okay, let me say this too before we get.
I know it's true. That's why I'm laughing.
Here's the funny thing about Latin America. And I've made this statement about others. Latin America, all the way up through Mexico, are largely what people, even the United Nations, call narco states. They're not actual governments. They are controlled by cartels
substance.
or no. They're not. Well, narco states can be both narcotics or cartels or militant organizations like Colombia, Venezuela. Yeah, go figure. Now, most of South America is this way. All right? They hate the concept. They're called that. But outside of like Chile, maybe Argentina, and a couple of others,
and that's funny because Argentina was socialist as well, but they decided that they had enough of that BS and they
they're
started
still a
using
military regime / they have that leading though. They're not quite 100%, so gives you a little bit of little bit idea. Now we put leverage on El Salvador, and then they jailed their gang members. Now, did we send some people wrongly down and back to El Salvador? Possibly. But this is just the way it happens. So.
We'd have over 1,000 people. Everybody wanted. I never knew your industry was that big. I never knew you had that many people in your industry. But here we are. And if you look, come to think of it, well, I got to look at this myself. Wow. What a view. This is the door to the bar.
Oh, by the way, we're getting accused of the new ballroom being too expensive.
Unusual time to look.
That's funny.
We might as well do it. If the fake news would like to go back and take a look, you can, but you'll see a very big...
They're calling it Trump's construction folly, that he's repaying people. Because the thing is, the White House doesn't have a ballroom to host stuff in.
Yes, we went from, this is, as you know, our biggest room, which would seat 100 for dinner, maybe.
Yes.
If you're lucky, if you're nice and tight. And the ballroom will seat many. And,
yes.
It'll also take care of the inauguration with bulletproof glass, drone-proof ceilings, and everything else, unfortunately, that today you need. So we're going to discuss how these great American companies can help rapidly rebuild Venezuela's dilapidated oil industry and bring millions
now,
of
let's
barrels
say this is not a 100% foolproof plan
to benefit the United States.
And I heard another source, and again, you need to take it with a grain of salt, but that source was saying it's basically misinformation and disinformation that Venezuela doesn't have functioning oil. Granted, it's a bit more complicated than here in Canada, but the infrastructure apparently were still working kind of well. But again, take it with a grain of salt. I'm just pushing back on the narrative simply because I heard otherwise from other mouths. So let's play more of that.
People of Venezuela and the entire world. And yesterday, the number is 30 million barrels. I can't even, is that a correct number? 30 million barrels. You hear that, Peter? Of oil was given to us by Venezuela. That's a lot of oil. It's about $4 billion worth, and it's on its way to the United States right now.
And that's 4 billion. That's not going to Canada. I bring back to Canada because I'm from Canada, and I see that, and I'm like, so our government keep gaslighting and lying to people. Nobody wants oil, yet like the USA is having that big investment in oil. It's
no, that's also
crazy.
going to largely. I'm going to say this. It's probably going to go into back to our strategic oil reserves. So we've been using a lot of our strategic oil reserves for a while. So that's where it's going to go.
Yeah. But again, there's a market. It's just that Carney doesn't like that market because he's not invested enough in it, I guess.
And we want to thank Venezuela for that. And we're working very well with them, obviously, or they wouldn't have been so generous. But they respect us. Again, they didn't respect us at all before.
Weird.
So
you notice when they lie about the world respects people?
They don't. It's just that you pointed
They
a gun
lie
at them.
about it, and then I guess this is Trump lying and gaslighting, because they go, this can't be true.
And some will go to the oil companies, but not that.
Everyone will respect you with a gun on their head.
So when you're not getting any of that.
That's what they'll say.
But when you start extracting, you'll get. But it's tremendous reserves, among the biggest in the world. Some people say it is the biggest in the world.
It's right.
And we're going to be working with Venezuela. We're going to be making the decision as to which oil companies are going to go in, that we're going to allow to go in.
By the way, their oil industry was already nationalized.
Today or very shortly thereafter with Chris and Doug. And we're dealing with the country, so we're empowered to make that deal. And you'll have total safety, total security. One of the reasons you couldn't go in is you had no guarantees, you had no security, but now you have total security. It's a whole different Venezuela.
Despite that, I heard a lot of people whispering, as long as people still think Venezuela as that dictatorship, no investment will go there. And that makes sense because, again, if the USA move elsewhere and now it's just another tyrant that's placed there, you won't be able to make money because all of the money will go to that tyrant. So
if we send, here's the thing, like when people talk about alternative power and alternative fuel, you need investment. And what you're hearing is the actual plan that Trump wants to do. And I say this, we are going to have to work with the companies down there because the oil execs are going to try to work with them. But bear in mind, there's still a bunch of militants and radicals down there. It's just Maduro was one of the worst. So
he was the face of the movement.
It's not taking him out.
Very successful. And the people of the United States are going to be big beneficiaries because we're going to be extracting, numbers of, in terms of oil, like, few people have ever seen, actually. So you're dealing with us directly. You're not dealing with Venezuela at all. We don't want you to deal with Venezuela. Let me thank Vice President J.D. Vance, who's doing a fantastic job. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, likewise, a fantastic job. I have good people.
That's weird. I have issues. Maybe bring it back. Do you hear me, Dragon?
Hold on.
So we have issues right now with the screening. That's surprising. It's tragic. It's tragic. It's tragic. Is it working? No, it's not working. It is not working. Oh, the dragon left. The dragon may come back. In the meantime, well, the USA did something good. He's cleaning America. All of the America, which is amazing. But we all have these TDS people that cannot stand anything Trump. Even if he does something good, they won't listen because they were told to not listen. They were told Trump is the worst human being on earth, while Maduro literally ran over people that protested him. There's always a worse evil, and people just don't realize it, and sometimes they just don't see it. That's what's going on. And now we got a dragon gone, and I don't know if it will come back. So in the meantime, I will be playing from YouTube the video because I realize I still have some kind of agency, still have some kind of choice. Hopefully the sound will still be good. So the historic thing there, we were at 5:30 roughly.
First term, we had some great people there too, by the way. But we had a great first term. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country in the first term, but this is blowing it away. And you haven't seen anything yet. Everyone's been shocked by the numbers, 5.4% GDP. And that's despite the fact that we were badly hurt by the Democrat shutdown, of which they'd like to see if they could shut it down again. Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, who's fantastic.
And you know what's fascinating? The USA skyrocket to the moon. They are making money. In the meantime, Canada is sinking, minus 1.6 GDP. It's terrible. It's the worst in the J7. So let's bring back the dragon. So the dragon, what is going on your end?
Don't look. I believe that's what we call a bad driver that just has decided to install itself. Find the timestamp.
Yeah, that was 6 minutes because I watched 30 seconds. Well,
so yeah, I did a GPU update the other day, and apparently it did not take, and I was trying to fast travel in the game.
Chris Wright, recommended by Doug as being the greatest oil man anywhere in the world, because I wanted Doug for that job, energy, and Doug said, no, sir, there's a man named Chris Wright. I said, who the hell is Chris Wright? He said he's the most talented oil man anywhere in the world. I doubt you can get him, because typically oil men make a lot of money, and women. They make a lot of money, but Chris came. You took one of the greatest salary cuts probably in history, Chris, right? But he's a fantastic person, loves our country, and many other important members of this team. And I want to thank them for their efforts. As you know, last week, the United States Armed Forces performed one of the most spectacular military operations in American history, apprehending the outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro for his crimes against the United States, crimes for which he has now been indicted and is in federal
him and his wife
trial. And he killed many people, millions of people, actually, and allowed jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums, drug dealers, drug addicts to pour into our country totally unchecked because of sleepy Joe Biden's policy of open borders. The stupidest thing I've ever seen. We're getting them all out.
Oh, here's a funny thing about, for a period under Joe Biden's stuff, prior to Joe Biden and the immigration courts, we had so many Venezuelans going through our courts. It was clogging our immigration courts. Crazy, I know. Including the area I was in, we still have some of them.
The departure of Maduro makes it possible an incredible future for both nations, Venezuela and the United States, in which we will more closely integrate the...
So as I was grabbing water and a snack, a very interesting argument came up to my mind to all of these people that are like that trample all over international rights and that kind of stuff. I have a response to that, and I will try to be as clear and concise as possible. So the idea I got is, what if you are in your house and you take a gun and you shoot at your neighbor? You end your neighbor's life. Is your neighbor authorized to go in your home and grab you and bring you to his home to make sure you don't do that anymore? I feel like they have the right to do so. And we got a very similar case with Venezuela because they keep sending substance that ends so many lives, and they stop people from coming. They are a dangerous neighbor. It's the dangerous neighbor with the gun that keeps shooting you and your guests, and you're like, you know what? I will take out of the equation that bad neighbor. And this is exactly what Trump did. And I think it feels justified. And yes, it's country to country, but you're still neighbors. And you doing wrong thing in your house that affect your neighbors, in the case where Maduro action were impacting the USA, because trust me, if they didn't impact the USA wouldn't waste money on that. They wouldn't be doing that spectacle of arresting the guy. They arrest the guy because the guy bothered them.
He was the head of a lot. So before I explain when you come back, I don't know if you heard it. There was the case of a lot of people that... So our immigration courts got backed up with a bunch of... It just happened prior to Biden, and I think kind of under Obama. We took in a lot of immigrants, like a lot of the ones coming from like South America colloquially. That's basically, let's say, Mexico going south, okay? Tyrone. Mexico would send them through us. I live in an area of Texas. We did get a lot of Venezuelan migrants. One of the cases in New York, and I could probably, I think, go find it one of the years ago. We had so many at one point under Biden. We had at least 3. It was like somewhere total of 2 million, or it's like a high number, at least 1 million Venezuelan asylum cases.
And this impacts every system. And again, that's because of that stupid neighbor. It's like your neighbor is doing music. You have every right to go knock at their door and say stop. If he doesn't stop, call the cops. And
people don't think this was the case. I don't know about your asylum courts, but our asylum courts, I have to go dig up the actual stats, what it was. But it was so high.
It's nasty. It's
in 1 year, and we were looking at what we were seizing, people we were seizing at the Mexican border at one point, largely Venezuelan. Now, the funny thing about this is, you wonder why we accuse Venezuela and other Latin Americans of deporting. I'm not saying they're all bad people, but they're trash to us. They're criminals. I live in Texas, okay? They don't ever talk to Arizona. At some point, what if I told you our own federal government under both Obama and Biden deemed an 80-mile no-go zone between Phoenix and the Mexican border. Below Phoenix. That's our border. They said it was unsafe to go. Crazy, isn't it?
Again, that's your neighbor pissing you off. So you have every right to interfere and do something because your neighbor is trampling all over your rights.
But Venezuela was actually doing both.
Two major energy powers in the Western Hemisphere. Energy coming out of Venezuela was very small. One of the things the United States gets out of this will be even lower energy prices. We have people now getting gasoline for $1.99, $1.96, $1.95, $1.92 yesterday, somebody.
We still got to refine
and
it.
And it used to be $3.50, $4, $5.
Yeah, gas prices did go down.
Think of that, $1.99.
We did.
Decades ago, the United States built Venezuela's oil industry at tremendous expense with American skill, technology, know-how, and dollars. But those assets were stolen from us, and we had presidents who did nothing about it. This president is much different than your other presidents. They did nothing about it. They stole it. Some of the people in this room were a little bit younger when that happened, but not that much younger. It wasn't that long ago. But they stole our assets like we were babies, and the United States did absolutely nothing about it. So now we're doing everything about it. Now we're doing 500% about it. But
and another thing, what kind of message does it send to other countries? Because again, Russia and China were using Venezuela as proxy. So it sends a message to them, stop using proxy to attack us, or we will destroy your proxy and take over.
They're also going to Venezuela for the oil. That's why do you think, as I said, the Belt and Road Initiative? So what happens with the International Monetary Fund, kind of under like the IMF, uses this as basically to indebt nations. They have to give resources over. So what the Belt and Road Initiative does for China, it allows them to move into nations. Let's say a country has a large amount of silica or aluminum or gold. They take that resource. Gold is used in electronics, sometimes silver, same as stuff you need to make microchips. Where does it go? Back to China. Doesn't stay in the economy. For them, it goes back to China. Now, but they're taking advantage of poor countries with rare earth minerals.
It's
weird.
It's a long time after the act took place. So they stole from us, and it was taken by socialists and communists at the time, and Venezuela was going bad, really bad. And as much oil as they have, they're producing almost nothing, which is just a system. So we're really, if you look at it, we're taking back what was taken from us. They took our oil industry. We built that entire oil industry. Started a long time ago, but they took it, and they were very ungracious to this country. But now they're being very nice. American companies will have the opportunity to rebuild Venezuela's rotting energy infrastructure and eventually increase oil production to levels never, ever seen before. When you add Venezuela and the United States together, we have 55% of the oil in the world. The United States is number one. We have them drilling. Drill, baby, drill was my campaign. And Doug and Chris, I think we're setting records on drilling right now and taking oil without Venezuela. That's how we.
And that goes back to his promise.
The plan.
So you see, all of these people that call him a dictator, he is doing exactly what people hired him to do: drill, baby, drill.
The concept. Okay, let me explain this. Remember I've talked about in Canada they hate fracking. So energy costs. Yes, there is one problem under Trump of the economy. Insurance costs are terrible. Okay? They have gone up, but this has been that's an industry. But if a large majority of take-home pay is being spent on bills, a lot of us have natural gas. So this is an energy cost, heating, electricity, stuff like that. That saves. You're hearing it from Trump's own stuff. Now, food costs have come down from Biden. It's really funny that this has happened. Biden could have fixed this economy, but they chose not to. Trump was brought in as president and elected by a majority of Americans to fulfill a promise. And largely, he is slowly doing it.
He's doing a lot more than whatever Carney is doing in Canada.
He's doing a lot more than most people think he's doing.
Yeah.
Meaning our giant oil companies will be spending at least $100 billion of their money, not the government's money. They don't need government money. But they need government protection and need government security that when they spend all this money, it's going to be there so they get their money back and make a very nice return. The plan is for them to spend at least $100 billion to rebuild the capacity and the infrastructure necessary. Venezuela has also agreed that the United States will immediately begin refining and selling up to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil, which will continue indefinitely. We're all set to do it. We have the refining capacity. It was actually based very much on the Venezuelan oil, which is a heavy oil, very good oil, great oil. It's fantastic for certain things like asphalt roads. Best there is in the world for asphalt roads.
We use oil in everything.
All of the companies here today are going to be
even solar panels. Sometimes they use oil.
Oil, that type stuff is all used.
Its economy and generating great wealth for their
plastics
companies and for their people, and also great wealth for the American people, and tremendous wealth for the companies that are going in. The companies that are going in, and if you don't want to go in, just let me know, because I got 25 people that aren't here today that are willing to take your place. So I just want to thank, these are people that I either know or I know of by reading lots of business magazines and journals and papers. These are the greatest oil people anywhere in the world. Harold Hamm, I see, is here. Harold, you know, there's a story about Harold Hamm that he could look at a piece of land, put a straw into the land, and oil pours out. Is that true about you? Whereas some of you guys have to invest hundreds of millions of dollars to find that oil. So we can't let that story be true. But they say Harold puts a straw into the land and oil comes gushing out. So you're not a big R&D person, are you, huh? He's called instinct for oil. Now, he's got other problems, but we won't talk about those problems. But he's been a great supporter of mine for a long time, haven't you, Harold? So congratulations. But we have, and I think Harold would agree, we have the greatest oil men and women anywhere in the world sitting in this room right now. And we have a lot of people that will be back.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually true, because America is the land of dreams. America is the land that attracts so many people, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's actually true. And as much as I respect Alberta so much, and if they separate from Canada, I will go live there for sure.
So the thing
I think the USA got it right.
So here's the funny thing that he's trying to talk about, if you don't know it. Now, investment cost, as I said, the key in exploring oil and other resources has always been exploration. Okay? For every dollar of oil spent, about sometimes 40 cents of that dollar goes back to exploration. Sometimes 50. So, you need to explore and survey for more oil. So, it's like a 60-40, roughly. So, what he's talking about doing, the oil companies are going to, since Venezuela's oil companies were already naturalized. We're going to rebuild them and then, I guess, get a partnership out of it. Now, they do have a lot of natural oil down there. Like Canada has a lot of natural resources they don't exploit or use. Venezuela knows its oil now, amongst other things. So, if they do that, some of that money is going to stay down there and hopefully the investment kicks back. But we're probably going to have to guard those ventures so militant groups and other stuff don't blow it up. Because what he's talking about, $1 billion, is of the oil company's money to rebuild the facilities and also pay the survey crews to continue digging wells. Because
see
oil.
us sometime next week. We're going to have another meeting for another group. But we're going to do this very quickly. We can have this done almost immediately. So I'd like to thank you all for being here. I'd like to invite Vice President Vance to say a few words, followed by Secretaries Rubio, Bergman, Wright, and then we'll have a few words from representatives that are here and to discuss their ideas, a couple of them. We have Chevron, which has been, where's Chevron? Where are you?
Far right.
No, I thought you'd have a better location. You were the only one that was there for all that. I used to call you and say, what the hell is going on with Venezuela? He stuck it out. I don't know if you made money or not, but you stuck it out. They got to give you a lot of credit for that. Mark Nelson, thank you very much. Exxon CEO Darren Woods. Darren, thank you very much. How's Exxon doing? Okay? They'll do a lot better now, won't they, huh? Exxon's been amazing. It's been an amazing company. And ConocoPhillips CEO Ryan Lance, thank you very much. So you guys could say something, and then we'll take some questions from the press. And if anybody else would like to speak, we'll have you speak. We have all the time in the world. This is a big subject. This is massive wealth, and more importantly than massive wealth, it leads to lower taxes and a lot of jobs for Americans and for Venezuelans, but for Americans in this case. And I just, again, appreciate you all being here. And I'd like to ask JD to say a few words, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thanks to everybody for being here. You know, as a Marine Corps veteran for my entire lifetime, presidents, and let's be honest, they were Democrats and Republicans, would send the American military to far-off places. They would get us involved in these endless quagmires. They would lose hundreds or thousands of American lives. And the American people would get nothing out of these misadventures. And now you have an American president who's empowered the American military to stop the flow of drugs into our country and to ensure that we, as opposed to our adversaries, control one of the great energy reserves that exist anywhere in the entire world. And he did it without losing a single American life in the process.
And again, I will also highlight something he said that maybe people may have missed. What I want to highlight is to say, if you control Venezuela, China no longer controls them. And that's telling. This is a big blow. It's like winning a small battle in a bigger war. This is the kind of victory you need. This is the kind of victory you want. And now, yeah, let's play more of that because Dragon is going to be right back shortly.
It's an amazing operation. It's going to make our country richer. It's going to make our country more powerful. It's going to make our country safer. And it's going to lead to the decline, the further decline of drug overdose deaths in the United States of America. An amazing thing, and I'm happy to be here to talk about how we can make it an even bigger and better operation for the American people. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Marco?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I think this is a reminder that everything this president does, everything President Trump does is with the American people in mind. It was not in the national interest or national security of the United States and of our people to have in our own hemisphere a country, not just with vast energy reserves, but controlled by an indicted narco trafficker who flooded our country with illegal immigration, including drug gang members, openly cooperated with drug gangs, and by the way, stole the wealth of that country to fund a repressive regime and also benefit adversaries such as Iran. All of that is now changing. as part of this process. The first phase, of course, is the phase we're in now, which is the stabilization phase. We did not want to see destabilization in the country. We're working very cooperatively with the interim authorities there to provide a market for the sale of the wealth of Venezuela in such a way that benefits the people, both of the United States, but also the people of Venezuela. And as a reminder to everyone, the President announced this just 2 days ago. Every penny, everything they buy with the money that they're making from the oil now, Mr. President, will be bought from America. And that includes everything from equipment for the oil industry to food to medicine and everything in between. The second will be a phase of recovery, and then some of these phases will overlap, and that is to have a normal economy again where the money goes to the benefit of people, not the benefit of our adversaries or the benefit of elements in that country and around the world that are against our interests, at the same time as a process of reconciliation has to happen internally among the different sectors of society and politics and the like. And finally, the third phase, which is the most important of the three, is when the country fully transitions into a normal country that we have strong economic and diplomatic and relations with, that is friendly towards the United States, that's not a foothold for our adversaries, that serves our interests, but also the interests of the people. It'll be a country that is wealthy, a country that is prosperous for the people, not for a handful of criminals, but also a country that is supportive of our interests in the region and throughout the world. And we thank you, Mr. President, and the team you've assembled that have brought us to this point. A lot of work remains, important work, but this is historic.
Okay, thank you very much. Doug?
Well, Mr. President, I want to thank you for your leadership, not just as President, but as Commander-in-Chief. The boldness, the execution, the breathtakingly precise work that you've delivered both in Iran back in June and here has changed the...
And I'll also say this. There's that conspiracy out there that says maybe someone higher in the shadows, higher than Maduro, highlighted the attack and helped the USA capturing Maduro to pretend it's solving everything there, but it will still go on for years. So we will see how it goes, but a lot of Venezuela people are pessimistic because they don't think it will change anything. So only time will tell, and we will see how it goes. Hopefully, they will learn from past mistake. With other regime, they did the same thing. So we will see how it goes.
Change the field for the whole world. And you always ran about the idea of peace and prosperity. And in Venezuela, as you know, this was a playground for every bad actor in the world. We had Russians, Iran, terror groups, all of them profiting from this criminal organization that was pretending to run the country. That makes America safer. You've secured the border, we're stopping the flow of drugs, and now with the normalization of relationships on an economic basis, it's going to mean tremendously for the prosperity of the American people. So I just want to say again, congratulations to you and to the entire leadership team. It's been an amazing, historic week on the scale of things that we haven't seen perhaps for 125 years in terms of the U.S. Exerting its influence over Latin America.
And it's kind of funny because Canada, or I should say Carney, has very similar speech to what's going on, to what is being said by the guy that just spoke a few seconds earlier. However, Carney doesn't deliver result, while Trump truly delivers result as of right now. He basically is sinking substance boat and oil boat, and he is really weakening China and Russia right now by doing what he did to Venezuela.
In a way that's going to make a change for generations. And on behalf of all the oil executives that are here today, Chris and I want to say thank you to all of you. It's your technology, your innovation that has put America in the place where today we are the most energy dominant country in the world. And that position is what's allowed us to take the action that we're taking with state.
And I will be honest, I feel and I think Canada could be on that spot of the biggest country that has so many resources, but we are run, we are controlled, we are being used by stupid people that run a circus. That's why we are broke.
Statecraft with military action, none of that would happen if we were dependent on everybody else for energy. So you're a big part of the reason that we're able to move the way we are today, and we're grateful that you're here to be part of the solution going forward.
Thank you, Doug, and you are doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate it. Everybody appreciates it. They know They know who's doing well. Chris Wright?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, what we've seen in the last week is leadership matters and credibility matters. Venezuelan oil has been sanctioned for many years, and the oil just flew, those sanctions were not enforced. That oil just floated out to trafficked by bad actors of the world. The resources weren't gone to a central place. The corruption and decline of Venezuela has been a crisis for the people of Venezuela, and as Secretary Rubio said, massive spillover effects in the United States, in crime, in drugs, in kidnappings, and in taking a huge resource base and making it not exploited, not developed. The whole world is a poorer, less opportunity-rich place because.
And again, I will repeat what I said. Venezuela is a bad neighbor that was doing bad things to the USA, and USA decided enough of that. We are taking action. We are doing something. So let's play more of that now.
When you have materials underground, they've been underground for 1 million years. That does not make them a resource. That does not make them valuable for your country, your people, or the world. They only become a resource with technology, with capital, with rule of law, and a system of governance that encourages the harvesting of those resources to make the better world. And we see here the dramatic contrast between the United States, which may have less oil underground than Venezuela. We have 20 times the production of Venezuela, 20 times the impact of human betterment.
This, I won't be surprised even if the comment I heard about maybe Venezuela being underestimated in terms of production. I wouldn't be surprised even if Venezuela is doing very well in terms of production, contrary to common belief. I wouldn't be surprised if the USA are still bigger in terms of industry and have more technology and are more advanced despite having maybe less. I don't know what's going on with me right now. 2 hours into that stream. Anyway, I wouldn't be surprised if even if the USA has less resources, they use their resources better, with better tech, because this is the USA, the greatest place on earth.
Massively better quality of living here in the United States. That was at risk under the last administration. We've seen a lot of attacks on the energy that makes the world go round. President Trump's election has removed those risks, has embraced reality about how the world is energized, and we are at record production of oil in the United States, record production in natural gas in the United States. We've seen a meaningful decline in gasoline prices, diesel prices, travel prices because of jet fuel. And now President Trump is taking the genius of a different way to try to solve a 25-year festering problem in Venezuela, that all the traditional things have not worked. But ordering both a tremendous military operation to remove the heads of a criminal organization masquerading as a government, and then to use the power of our military, not to fire bullets, but to stop the flow of Venezuelan oil to the world, immediately gave us leverage over the interim authorities in Venezuela and has allowed us to be in this position today where the actions of this government can massively improve Venezuela for the better, and the bigger impact is to massively improve the quality of life, affordability, safety, and security of the United States. Very proud to be here. And we'll turn it over to Mark Nelson, who's the vice chairman of Chevron. Chevron has been in Venezuela for over 100 years, continuously. Mike Wirth, the CEO, had a knee replacement recently. He's not here. Mark is a tremendous leader in our industry, and I'll turn it over to him.
Get the next video ready,
Thank you, Secretary
Dragon.
Wright. Again, I'll send my
You're not going to go all the way through this one.
No, it's like 40-ish minutes, and I think we get the idea.
3 very quick thank yous and an assurance I'd like to provide you all.
If you think this one's
The first
long,
thank you,
you're going to
Mr.
hate
President,
this one.
is to you.
We won't go over the 15 minutes of the other one. I left the link of that one and the other one in the description below if people want to see more.
I should get timestamps.
The second thank you actually is to the cabinet. So Secretary Rubio, Secretary Berg, and Secretary Wright your ability and commitment to continue to engage with the parties around the table to keep the world working is greatly appreciated. So thank you. Thank you for that. And the final thank you actually would go to our Venezuelan employees of Chevron. They have been working tirelessly to operate safely, protect the environment in country, and their dedication and skill will help us in this next chapter. And finally, I'll close with the assurance. For more than a century, Chevron has been a part of Venezuela's past. We are certainly committed to its present, and we very much look forward as a proud American company to help it build a better future. And so, Mr. President, thank you.
Again, America first. I wish we had that kind of leadership in Canada.
A lot of people left, a lot of big...
That was an amazing video, and if you're ready, we can showcase the final clip of tonight's stream.
It's not a clip, but I'll have to get it. But
video, I should say. So, any thoughts about Trump and that press conference, and any highlight, anything you'd like to add on that press conference?
The thing about that press conference is it's more the idea. You show me how your government works. I've told you our government works a little bit more bureaucratically, so to speak. The idea is you see he's using our industry. Now, people will say it's the blood. Literally, I've already heard the whole blood for oil crowd come back. See, that predates you, by the way.
Yeah.
Blood
Kuwait, Afghanistan.
Yeah, blood for oil and all that mess. But the thing is, what people never understood, did you get to the part why he arrested Maduro for the beginning about what he was doing with the drugs and horrors on his own people? Even Trump said we tried to give him an exit. We were literally going to give him a nice, cushy place here.
And now
I fucking know.
I mean, now Maduro doesn't need to worry about his life anymore. He's fed. He's in his little box, you know.
See, here's the thing: people forget.
He doesn't need to pay mercenaries to protect him anymore.
The fun, terrible part about a lot of dictators, and you never think about this, is we actually give them. So, like Panama and Grenada, we scooped up the people, and I think Noriega and his family were like living in Miami, you know.
Maybe now Maduro will sleep well. Who knows?
But it sounds weird.
Maybe
they actually tried. No, what has happened to a lot of Venezuelan dictators is we let them. They all usually flee the country and live good lives elsewhere. But the problem is Maduro didn't want to, or better.
Of course he didn't want to. Like most communist leader, or I should say tyrant, because you can't be a leader in a communist regime. Most tyrant that lead communist regime, they don't want to let go of power. That's why you need to not give them power.
You gotta understand, a lot of those people are. Let's see, hopefully this is.
I don't think they sleep well at night, but they don't care because they feel like the power they get is good enough.
You have people when I say Latin Americans are largely. This is what's funny about the Latin Americans. When I say they're narco states, you didn't know what was clogging up our courts was actually asylum cases from Venezuela. Hold on a second. That's somebody.
Did you find it? Because now it's been 3 minutes. We are just talking about Trump greatness. People should really start thinking more critically. If Trump would be so bad as a president, he wouldn't get stuff done. He would be like Carney, but with more atomic bomb at his disposal.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first live episode of the year. As you can see,
Okay, let me explain who these two people are. On the right, his name is Konstantin Kisin, Kisin, I believe. On the left, his name is Francis something. He's a British comedian. The guy on the right is a Slavic. Well, he's an Eastern Bloc former person who gained his fame by debating college students at like Cambridge on how stupid socialism and Marxism is, because he grew up in supposedly communist Russia or under the bloc system. Now, lately, he has had a very bad case of TDS. Now, some people have said he's a severe Zionist and bows to Israel. Now, I personally thought he was a leftist, what we call leftist in the United States, but he developed a bad case of TDS. Now, him and James Lindsay are also the ones who believe in the woke right. Now, simplest explanation of the woke right is the rightoids who act like wokies, and they do the same thing. And oppressive. Now, Francis is a British comedian. He also has severe TDS. Now, I do not know timestamps for this and how far he's going to let this get in. Once you get past the rundown, Francis literally goes on, and I might go find the transcript so I could show it. He literally says, because Trump took Venezuela, he's going to take Greenland.
But folks, Greenland is like a state. It's not even a country.
It's literally an iceberg with. It's actually literally an iceberg with.
And I've seen a clip of Greenland people. I've seen a clip of Greenland people being like, you know what? We want USA. We are so done with the Danish.
Okay, I know this sounds weird. Greenland is literally an iceberg that is largely frozen, and the only reason people live there is they live on the coast. Now, the funny thing about this is, and I'll go find like the timestamps, but like there's also a part in here that gives me a mini brain aneurysm, because Kisin literally makes the case American tyranny is bad and the UN has failed with its international laws.
I think China tyranny is worst. So go on.
But here's the funny part. In the same breath, or the sentence later, he makes and says, yeah, but what Trump is doing is in response to basically the international community failing. They tried to do the good cop and the bad cop thing. This is why I was telling you, you didn't need that TikTok video. This is the one you needed because, again, you got TDS and you also got the other, because they try to claim centrism, but they are very, very biased. So, now that you know, and if you ever have questions, so.
Thanks to President Trump, we've had to come back to work earlier than we planned, so we're not in studio. Welcome one, welcome all. And
okay, let me say this. These are YouTubers that try to claim to be centrists. He says thanks to Trump, but then again, people with TDS always out themselves. Am I right or am I wrong, Molten?
Yeah, that's true. Like, again, so many people, and if you think it's bad, TDS, look at Canada. It's even worse in Canada, I swear. Even some conservative have TDS.
He's European. Both of these are European.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems the pattern of 2026 is to continue the pattern of the previous several years, where any country that we have any connection to First,
You're not a member of the U.S.
It's your turn, Francis. Congratulations, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a rather surreal experience to wake up on a Saturday morning, turn my phone on, check the football results, and it wasn't actually the football. What was actually on my screen was something that Venezuelans have been praying for ever since basically Maduro got elected, but also before Maduro in the time of Chavez, which is Maduro has been taken. Him and his wife have been taken by the United States.
This is not totally
and they are
positive.
going to be facing justice for the crimes that they have committed in Venezuela. There is a word in Venezuela.
Well, you say that. I mean, we'll get into that before we go all the way in. Let's give everybody a little moment to join in. We'll discuss the idea that he's going to be facing justice for this crime he's committed in Venezuela and the geopolitical implications of all of that. But before we get into all of that, perhaps you can just give everybody a quick breakdown of who Nicolas Maduro is, how long he's been in power, and what may have led to this operation, particularly in the light of the conversation we had with Daniel DiMartino, very timely released episode.
That's a French name. Interesting.
That's obviously done incredible numbers since it's come out because of this event. So just give us the basic background, first of all.
Of course. So it all starts in 1999 with Hugo Chavez.
Hold on. You're what's going to drive you nuts. If you start seeing the good cop, bad cop routine, you're going to see it.
Are you really going to tell me these two will defend Maduro?
They will go after Trump and show TDS.
Oh my.
This is how this starts.
I think I will lose brain cell. I like that. Please.
I'm telling you, be prepared. They're trying to be civilized at the start.
Being democratically elected by the Venezuelan people.
Oh, no, but it's because you know how leftists believe a tyrant is bad, but if a tyrant's following is worse? What's funny
yeah, and by the way, you can eliminate the opposition if you want, and then sure, you've been elected, but there was no opposition.
See, here's the thing. He actually does talk about why Trump doesn't have to respect UK. That's what's so
it
good.
Doesn't. Well, did we hear China about a counterattack or something? We just heard about China whining and crying over losing oil. So yes, USA
so I warn you, and I promise you, the TDS will show itself. And if I have to, I will go find the timestamps because Francis makes the case at the same time, but they have it like the good cop, bad cop routine, where we don't. This is part of the reason, and it's an evolved position. The U.S. doesn't look as Great Britain as 100% ally because they're not backing us up, and they're compromised.
In a landslide victory, this is what people always forget. Hugo Chavez won by a landslide with a communist revolution. It was a communist party. He was talking, they were calling themselves Chavistas. And what he was promising in his left-wing populist revolution is that the elites were the ones who were ignoring the Venezuelan people. That's why we saw this horrendous inequality in Venezuela between rich and between poor. He was going to do something about corruption. Venezuela's famously been one of the most corrupt nations on earth since from before.
Oh, by the way, Chavez, who he's talking about, became very much a dictator, president for life. He also is part of one of the people that tanked his own economy.
Yeah, I know. I heard about that.
For my time. And he promised to do something.
He inspired
Venezuela was the 5th biggest oil producer in the world with the largest oil reserves in the world. And a lot of that oil money had not filtered down to the poorest people. Venezuela, in particularly Caracas, one of the most unequal societies in the world, where you had this echelon of very rich, very wealthy people who were living these incredibly luxurious lives. And then you had...
Did he know about India and how they act? It's caste system over there. Like, there are places you don't even have electricity. it's hilarious.
No, the caste system in India is only in certain areas, but that's a separate topic. But this is what he's talking about in Venezuela.
Venezuela I feel like India sounds far worse than whatever Venezuela is, to be honest. But let's play more.
Other people, the vast majority of people in society living in what is called los ranchos. In Brazil, they're called the favelas. They're the shanty towns. So that's the backdrop of Venezuela. It was corrupt president after corrupt president after corrupt president. Chavez came in, landslide election, and he said, what we're going to see is a left-wing populist revolution. What we're going to see is a redistribution of wealth. What we're going to see is a fairer Venezuela. And the thing that's very interesting, and we may come back and talk about this, is he was seen as a symbol. He was seen as a symbol of socialism. This was going to be the new way. This was going to be the new left-wing revolution. And the usual suspects got behind it, the Owen Jones, the Jeremy Corbyns, the Bernie Sanders, who eulogized Chavez and said, this is the way it should be done.
I warn you.
And you know what? For the first few years, it seemed to be going okay. Oil prices
it always seems to be okay when nothing is bad happens.
Some sort of redistribution of wealth. Hospitals
and then their economy
new schools, etc., etc. And people were thinking, actually, could this be a new dawn for Venezuela? A new dawn for a fairer Venezuela for everyone?
Or more corrupt
but
one where my
what
brother is in charge of
communist parties and communist dictatorships
he makes
is they start off with a
good,
narrative of fairness, and you will know this very well yourself,
if you already have it gathered.
There's literally no pushback from the other side. The other guy is just closing his eyes. He's like, that's my utopia. That's like my dream world he's describing. Right
okay,
now.
Here's the funny thing about Kissing. Kissing does this thing of, if you've ever seen him in his prepared interviews, he's a lot better. He's like vibing.
He's sleeping at the wheel, bro.
You think I'm joking about this? The thing is, you see this in his interviews.
The guy is sleepy. Is dozing. I don't know.
No, he is actually, and it's not my illusion. You can ask these people who've watched him. He literally is one of the people. He colluded or believes if conservatives use tools of the left wing or the progressives, we're just as bad as the activists we're trying to replace.
Wow.
So how do you fight a radical without using their tactics against them occasionally?
People. It's crazy.
You think I'm joking?
I understand why you recommended this thing. It's funny.
You see why?
He really tries to sell like socialism. Like, let me guess. This guy with the glasses is a scholar of something.
No, he's a comedian. I told you. British comedian.
Oh, maybe it's satire. It's satire.
He's a legit British comedian.
Look
at his eyes. Do you see the whites of his eyes?
I can't take that seriously anymore.
Do you see the actual whites in his eyes?
That guy is joking.
No, he's not. Okay, you know that's how you tell a crazy.
You said he's a comedian. He's joking. I can't take the guy seriously.
No, he's actually dead serious. The problem is, you know how I used to tell if someone's a left-wing loon? Tell by the eyes. The eyes are, if there's too much whites of the eyes,
they believe in the crap they're saying.
You're actually likely insane, by the way. Having big eyes. Like, I have big eyes if you saw me IRL. But these people have too much whites in their eyes.
So we got Dragon admitting on record he's crazy. Let's
no, I'm not crazy.
And slowly but surely, the tentacles of power start to go.
Power, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
And we saw this bit by bit in Venezuela. It started off with allegiances with Cuba. So there was allegiances between Venezuela and Cuba. And what that actually was Venezuela providing Cuba with cheap oil, cheap petroleum, helping to keep their crippled economy afloat. And Fidel Castro at the time providing Hugo Chavez with the
crippled economy afloat. That sounds like Canada right now. That sounds like most socialist LO we have.
But thing is, watch for him to say, these people don't, because remember, another person's, there's a phrase you will hear amongst liberal types or people. Another man's hero is another man's terrorist.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense? And there's also a phrase to remember when you're dealing with socialistic powers. Everyone, do you remember like when Mandani got elected in New York? There's a whole thing, and if we ever get into U.S. midterms, they're saying Democrats need to run like an entire candidate, like Mandani nationwide. This doesn't work because almost all his advisors are socialistic as well. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Corruption doesn't care what wing of politics you come from. It will come for you. Remember that.
Yeah, that's true.
The means and the know-how in
it's
order
almost as
to
if
take over Venezuela and turn it from a very corrupt, although capitalist country and incredibly
redistribute the wealth
to what we see now, which is a communist country, which is economically crippled with a population of 9 million people who now live abroad, because the situation in Venezuela for the vast majority is simply untenable. It is one of the poorest nations on earth. Its life expectancy is lower than Syria. Inflation regularly hits around 200%.
See, Kissin's over
we
here.
We talk about
because
unfairness before, but now
he's trying to be
what
polite
we have
and
is a
not
majority of people who struggle not only to make it through a day or a week or a month, but struggle to eat. What Venezuela has become is it's turned from one of the richest countries in the world to an absolute economic basket case. Now, what happened with Chavez is his power grew, and as his power grew, so did the human rights abuses. So did going after political opponents, imprisoning them, imprisoning journalists, threatening journalists.
That's
torturing journalists.
Communist.
There was no such thing as freedom of speech in Venezuela.
What he's describing is the rise
and that
of
was how it progressed.
Powers.
And then the economy crashed.
So I recommend this.
And then what happened, and no one expected this, is Chavez got sick. He developed stomach cancer.
Finally died.
And he passed away in 2013. Now, this was a ray of hope for Venezuelans at the time, who thought to themselves, now maybe with Chavez gone, there's a new hope. Maybe with a new leader, we can have a new dawn.
New hope.
Maybe there's going to be a chance for us to be able to actually start again.
Let me guess, it worked out perfectly.
it worked out
perfectly. Yeah.
He elected a man called Nicolas Maduro. Now, this is very interesting. Nicolas, and this was a shock to every
Hold on, when you say he elected, who elected?
Oh, sorry, he didn't elect. There you go. There was a Freudian slip. He nominated his successor on his deathbed, Nicolas Maduro. And this was a shock at
the moment when you confuse elected and nominate is the moment you
I don't know if this was intended or it just happened.
I don't know. Like again, I think that guy is not serious. I'm telling you, I can't believe the guy is dead serious.
Francis is serious. I gotta tell you this.
I just don't believe it, Dragon. I'm sorry, but I
he is serious. I've watched this man for a couple of years now. This man literally look.
Even the other guy's like, bruh, you sound crazy.
The problem is
just by the looks of him, he doesn't believe
he's crazy. No, here's the thing about Kissin. Kissin's crazy himself as well. They both have TDS. I've seen enough of their stuff over the last couple of years. I can tell you this. I wish I could make this up. I have conversations with people in my circle. Well, not specifically you. The ones that come from Arch and Sargons. And we go over trigonometry. We've been sighing for like whatever. See, Kissin, right? As I said, according to the progressives, is a Zionist that supports Zionistic Jews. The funny part about this is the people on the right or conservative, since he had grown up in a supposed communist system, it's very funny. He hates what Trump does, but supports a dictatorship style system and doesn't realize that's the path to socialism and Marxism traditionally in the modern system. Does that make sense, Malty?
It doesn't, but hey, we are speaking about leftists.
He is supposed to be a centrist. Now, he brought on board Francis here. Francis has been a little bit of a loon for a couple of years now. This is just, I'll borrow the phrase, Bert and Ernie.
I'm sure these are two scholars. I'm telling you, all scholars.
They're not scholars. They're not scholars.
Think the same. They think the same, and it's like a brainwashed institution. This is
Just
what
if
this
you
school
see
has
it,
become.
the way they describe what happened in Venezuela. The problem with Kessin is sometimes Kessin is extremely passive. He's weird in his body language because he's listening to his friend, and he tries to not cut him off. But Kessin does speak, and when Kessin speaks, it's interesting.
Time in Venezuela, because there are other big players who people expected to be the leader. Now, Nicolas Maduro was a former bus driver. He was in a rock band. This was not a man of great intellectual ability. But what he was known for amongst the Chavistas, above all, was his loyalty to the revolution.
Oh, by the way, historically, have you ever heard the term Chavez?
Yeah.
Not Chavez, Che? Sorry?
Yeah.
Che was just a doctor before he became a communist rebel. He was a medical student / doctor.
That's interesting.
Really funny in his life story. Then he went on to when Cuba got taken over by Castro.
Yeah.
From Batista. Or Batista. As it is.
Yeah.
He ran the prisons executing people.
Wow.
And then we eventually killed him. Our CIA killed him in the Congo trying to do another revolution.
Wow. Interesting.
To the Chavez project. And when he was nominated, people were actually quite shocked. But the thing with Maduro's government is that it was even worse. The human rights abuses became worse. The poverty became worse.
No shit. This is what you get when you want socialism.
Does this sound like Trudeau nominating Carney?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was a bit different, I will be honest.
You name your successor, and your successor turns out to be worse shit than you.
Country came to the point where it became a failed state. And Maduro has presided over Venezuela since 2013. And he has presided over a country that lives in fear, that feels unable to not only voice their opinion, but also
secret police and everybody.
There's a word in Venezuela in Spanish called esperanza, which means hope. And esperanza, the first part of that word, espera, which means to wait. And Venezuelans have been waiting a long, long, long time. In fact, many of them have actually given up hope that Maduro and his ilk were actually going to be gone. So it's been a very, very interesting time for Venezuelans. It's been a real shock for them, what happened a couple of days ago. It's disbelief. There's a little bit of esperanza in there, but there's also fear as well. Because as you know, after the Soviet Union collapsed, what's even more dangerous in an authoritarian regime is a power vacuum. And we can go into what's happening now, the successor who's been appointed, who she is, and all the rest of it.
Well, we can. It's really interesting to hear, first and foremost, your background on how the people of Venezuela feel.
It's not
There
your
are lots of
background, it's your
suggestions
take.
in the comments that you should be appointed king of Venezuela. One I obviously support.
I hate.
One of the things that I think is interesting, though, is with all respect to Venezuela and people in Venezuela, I don't think this operation had anything to do with the things that you're talking about. Right. And that I think is very clear, because this is essentially, and we've heard from Secretary of State Marco Rubio on this, this was an action that was based on the fact that Venezuela was not just a poor country that was treating its citizens badly. That really, obviously, that those boxes are ticked for lots and lots of countries around the world. The reason this happened was that Venezuela was becoming a hostile force within America's hemisphere, within America's sphere of influence, within America.
And that response makes sense. America first. You don't want someone that uses Venezuela as a proxy if that's an enemy force like China or Russia. But hey, leftists, they don't understand geopolitics, I guess.
Sphere of dominance, you might say. Can you talk a little bit about the fact that we know, for example, that the Venezuelan government under Maduro was playing footsie with China, was playing footsie with Russia, was hosting, as far as we know, maybe even Hezbollah training camps in Venezuela. Tell us about that.
So Maduro and before that Chavez were always anti-West. They talked about America as this great evil, the great Satan. In fact, Hugo Chavez famously said that George W. Bush was as dangerous as a monkey with a razor blade. It was one of his many sayings about George Bush. But it comes from that hard left communist viewpoint that America is the great Satan, that they, for too long, America has had, or the United States has had, Latin America in its iron grip. And what America has done is use the resources and the country and the peoples of South America for their own gains. And what Chavez and Maduro wanted to do is they wanted to seek alliances with other countries and other nations who are actually the enemies of the United States of America. So the Irans of the world, the Chinas of the world, and the Russias of the world.
And this reinforced the idea you should take out that regime. He is your neighbor and he wants you gone. Why should you keep that neighbor around? If you got the power to take the neighbor out, do it.
You said he wasn't going to defend Venezuela. You literally said he wasn't. You said he was. I told you this is good.
Wow.
I told you. I
think I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my sanity. I'm losing brain cells.
Welcome to
what is going on? These people. I think they should click off the freaking TV and go touch some grass.
You literally played. You said you needed the TikTok video. I told you didn't.
This is better than TikTok.
You didn't need that TikTok video. I warned you.
I was like, we will only cover like 20 to 30 minutes because it will be like bad, but like it's so worse than I thought. Wow.
This I told you.
That's a gem. This is like when you search for the artifact in Indiana Jones, that's like one of the artifacts.
So I told you, this is why I gave you the background on these people. You don't think these people are dead serious. I'm not saying these people are now laughing stocks of people because they try to do centralism.
The more I think about it, Dragon, the more I'm like, it gotta be a joke. I refuse to believe these people are so stupid. No, Dragon, no. That's a satire. That's
you
parody.
Don't think this is a joke. I don't. None of us do.
We need to look at the comment section. I want to see if I'm crazy to think the way I think. So we are at 12:07. I need to screen share the comments. We need to go through the comments. I don't believe these guys are serious. I'm telling you.
You don't think they are. You really don't.
It was great to hear Francis talking uninterrupted for so long on a topic he is passionate about. Okay, I guess. Was looking forward to Francis' take on this. Okay. Thank you for being the only people to talk about Guyana. No one in the mainstream media discusses the violation of international law with what Venezuela was doing with Guyanese territory. Who would have believed 6 years ago that we would have been watching?
You know what he's talking about with Guyana? Ghana?
No, I have no idea.
This is about the systematic killing of Christians by Muslims, and
I read through the comments, and this is dead serious.
I told you
believe it.
They have a bunch of people, and I told you.
I can't believe it.
You don't think this is real?
I thought Canada was cooked. You guys are worst.
No, this is our people. The guy
channel has 1 million subscriber.
The guy didn't get this like this. He was debating college students. It started off, and
I can't believe what I'm seeing right now.
You are talking about this guy.
Is this video proving I'm right that even if you're a freaking scholar, you can be freaking stupid?
He's not a scholar. I tell you, he's not a scholar. One's a comedian.
Well, if he debates other scholars, maybe you can pretend he's a scholar. I don't know.
I'm just telling you that, see, the channel is trigonometry. We have literally said, here's what happens. Kazan either makes really good takes or the world's worst piss poor takes ever. Francis
I'm
is
shocked.
dead. Francis is a dead believer.
Is there someone home, guys? Is there someone home? I think that the intelligence is gone. It took a walk with the cats and the dogs.
I tell you, like when they introduce him,
and these alliances for those countries was incredibly attractive because what you don't know, well, what a lot of people don't know is Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world. And as a result of that, for the Chinese, maybe less so for the Russians because they've got their own oil reserves, and the Iranians, that meant that it was a very powerful ally. And Venezuelan oil is quite unique in that it's actually very diverse. A lot of petroleum, when it's taken out of the ground, the oil that's taken out of the ground, it can only be used maybe for one or two things, but Venezuelan oil can be used for many things, from petrol right the way through to helping to resurface roads, etc. So this is incredibly valuable stuff that Venezuela has. And not only that, it's also got reserves of gold, natural gas, minerals. Venezuela is one of the most resourceful countries and rich in resource countries in the globe. So for those countries to have an alliance with Venezuela is pretty much priceless. Also, as well, the fact that they could have relations and close ties with a nation, people don't realize that actually Venezuela is at the very top of South America. It's right on the Caribbean Ocean. And it's only a couple of hours flight.
Caribbean Basin,
Yeah, from Caribbean Basin. From there to Florida to the United States. That's one part of it. Another part of it that really frustrates America is in South America, Venezuela.
If he's making the case that America shouldn't invade Venezuela, he failed with failure. He failed with the F grade. You know the F grade? This is what he's getting. I'm even more convinced that the USA did the right thing while I'm watching whatever he's trying to say. It's crazy. I don't know what's going on in their head. Is there anyone home? I don't think so.
Is known as El Puente, the bridge. Why is it called the bridge? Well, it's very simple. Because Venezuela doesn't produce cocaine. Bolivia, Colombia, Peru produce the cocaine. But Venezuela is known as El Puente, the bridge. So people, drug traffickers, take their drugs to Venezuela.
So far,
and then
agree.
they use it as
I'm
a
trying to
bridge
figure
go
out why
to
he's
different
trying to
parts of
defend them
America.
now. Saying
And that again was another. It's not the main reason by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a huge frustration to American governments that Venezuela was essentially
what's going
not
on
only.
is the guy knows the truth and facts, but his TDS is getting in the way of his intelligence, and he just doesn't realize Trump was right.
He doesn't realize this entire argument proves Trump right by removing him, and then he's going to go on and say Trump is bad for doing this.
It went from I thought the guy was joking to the guy is actually really stupid.
He is a dead believer.
Turning a blind eye to this kind of criminal activity, but actually profiting from it. And it wasn't only that, it was the brazen way Chavez and Maduro were flaunting this criminal activities, flaunting that they were in league with Russia, with Iran. I remember talking to...
And it says criminal activities. That goes back to the other guy that spoke about maybe the people should deal with these crimes, the people from Venezuela. Well, they didn't do squat. Oh my, that's brain rot.
A cousin of mine there, and I was asking how Venezuela is, and he was like, bro, we now have Hezbollah training camps. If you think about it from the Americans' point of view, this is entirely unacceptable. The provocative nature of Chavez and then Maduro thumbing their nose at Venezuela was, for many American governments, untenable. Another example, Guyana. So for those of you who don't know, Guyana is a country in South America. It's a former British colony next to Venezuela. And there's always been disputes between Venezuela and Guyana. Venezuela say Guyana, there's a region of it that should be part of Venezuela. The Guyanese dispute this, but it's impenetrable rainforest. Who cares? Until 2015, when some of the largest oil deposits were found in Guyana. At this point, Venezuela decided that they were going to stake a claim to this territory. Maduro redrew the map of Venezuela, distributed it to schools with this new territory as being part of the Venezuelan nation.
Out the rise of socialism.
He then in 2024, I think it was, or 2023, they had an election where he asked the Venezuelan people, should this new territory be part of Venezuela? And apparently, the Venezuelan people agreed to it. So you see, what they were doing was not only liaising with the enemies of the United States, not only were they providing and profiting from the drug trade, but they were also saber rattling right in America's back door. And this came to a point. Biden put a bounty of around $50 million on Maduro's head, and then Trump came to power.
I will be honest. What does the guy on the right brings to the table, really?
He does speak, but not right now. He'll speak later. Do not misunderstand. He's letting the other guy make a deranged case. This is like me explaining the history. He's letting Francis do the explanation first. You're not used to this format, so I will tell you. But watch as Francis slowly turns and shows his TDS. Show it. He is literally making the case why we removed him.
Yeah.
And then he's going to go on to say Trump is bad for doing it. Both will say
these people are, without realizing or maybe they do realize it and they know their people are too stupid to see it, but they are anti-America and they want America to
They're not
sink.
Americans. Neither of these guys are Americans.
Yeah.
And as we all know, Trump and Biden are two very different animals. What Biden may see as acceptable or even turn a blind eye to, that wasn't going to wash under Donald Trump. In Trump's own words, fuck around, find out.
Well, what's interesting as well is obviously there's another potential conversation to be had here. And a lot of people are pointing out, calling me and you idiots in the chat saying, you idiots, this is all about oil. And you mentioned.
I was watching this live when this happened. I was watching you live. I was watching this live when this happened. I was watching. This was their first live stream of the year because generally they only do. They generally only ever do pre-recorded interviews.
This is what we call the kill shot.
The problem is in his chat. Now, normally in the interviews, you don't see Francis speak a lot. You see Kissen speak a lot. The funny thing about it is, in his chat, the problem is it's a preconceived notion that they have TDS.
But Dragon, I must add this. I am not the brightest. I consider myself very stupid. But apparently I see them and I see worst. Because it's not my first language. And it's beyond me how stupid that take is. You cannot say Trump was wrong by bringing up all of the good things he's doing in the process. It just doesn't work.
No, they're not too. Because with the audience who watches these people, we know it's like a matter of time. It's like
they're eye on something.
It's like listening to Mexican music and waiting for the mariachi band to play a certain instrument. Okay? Yeah. TDS, just give it about a bit.
I'm just impressed how brain dead this thing is.
My favorite part is Kissen was watching. I keep saying it.
I think I will be out of commission for 2 weeks with that.
He was watching the chat in horror, and then Francis finally gets called
in horror. No shit, in horror.
And then he puts his teacup up because he sees it finally. You should really read the chat that was going on. Half the chat was either conspiracy brains that are TDS, or the other half were making fun of him.
Venezuela has a lot of oil. To what extent is it fair to say this is just a land grab, oil grab, United States basically trying to control Venezuela's oil supply? It's an interesting argument given the fact that the US is the largest oil producer in the world. It's not like it needs loads more oil. What it probably doesn't want is the Chinese and the Russians and the Iranians Iran has a lot of oil, the Chinese in particular, to control that. What's your view on that conversation?
So one of the opinions that people are saying is it's not that America needs the oil. The reality is Venezuela provides around 4% of the oil for China. China is not largely dependent on the oil. 4% is still a significant percentage, don't get me wrong, but it's not life-threatening to its society. But a lot of people are saying that what Trump wants to do is he wants to seize Venezuela, then co-opt the oil, bring in American companies. They're going to make a lot of money, but it's also going to help to control the oil.
See, this is why playing the other video first makes more damn sense.
Yeah.
Where did Trump say, bringing in the oil companies, did they say we want all the oil?
Yeah, that's true.
This was the narrative. By the way, this is the narrative I heard, because I've been doing game streams and other stuff this week. And when this shit happened, I immediately heard the blood for oil people come out. Because like people like the guy on the left are the same ones who said when we went into Iraq, we only wanted it for the oil.
And we speak about oil, and it's hilarious because you see, for 10 years now, the media here in Canada keep telling everyone, look, oil is bad, nobody wants oil. And now suddenly, because Trump went after Venezuela for their oil, now it's like, oh yeah, everyone wants oil.
Everyone outside of Canada knows oil because oil is used in everything.
I will also add this, Dragon. For years, for 10 years, the conservatives have been telling everyone, but because they are the fringe, because they are the conspiracy people, they are telling everyone oil is important, you can make money out of it. It's just that the liberal freak, they didn't want money, or they want people to suffer. I don't know.
Do the exploration,
but wait, let me finish, Dragon. Yeah. So for 10 years, conservatives have been hammering home, we have oil, let's use oil, we can be rich, and now we need Trump to actually take over Venezuela to move that needle around. It's crazy. It's crazy. These people, I'm telling you, now we got liberals. I didn't believe I would see it in my life, but I got to see liberals on mainstream media defending freaking oil. I was shocked. I was like, wait, what? What? They are actually telling the truth for once? Wow. I will clap. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, Trump.
Here's the thing. Apparently, by the way, the funny thing about this is, according to your stuff I see, now do you see why in Canada I roll my eyes when they say there is no money in oil?
I always knew it, dude.
They literally, every other nation.
Canada is stupid, but I say it's the Canada left. It's not. It's not like the right wing ones. It's really the left wing. It's just not case, man. These people, lots of the left-leaning people should be an institution. I'm telling you.
Even the guy, he's a British European liberal guy on the left, literally is saying oil is important. Now
we had Trudeau. Don't worry, we had Trudeau and we had Carney. They all wanted green tech.
What have they said about your politics? Oil and your resources in the ground is your ticket to the future.
Again, I will reiterate what I said. I didn't plan on covering the entire thing, but because it's so stupid and hilarious, we will cover more of it. Let's do this.
Prices. Because once you start to control the oil prices, and if you keep it below $50 a barrel, that is really going to affect your enemies. Really going to affect your enemies. So there are a lot of people saying that. And look, we've got to be honest about this. Of course, the oil plays a significant factor. Of course they do. American companies were making billions upon billions from Venezuelan oil. They had contracts in Venezuela with PDVSA, which was the Venezuelan oil company. It was nationalized. Chavez and his cronies tore up all of that. So, of course, that's going to actually be a very, very significant part of this decision. But I also do think the geopolitical element of it, we talked about this with Mike Baker. We have been talking about this for a while on trigonometry. This plays a very significant part. The fact that this Venezuela is perceived as a security threat, the reality is that this was always going to happen.
Well,
the surprise came that it happened in the manner that it did, which I don't think.
This guy, I
told you, tinfoil hats. This is why I love this channel, but I also hate it. I happen to catch this live, and I'm like,
it's like it's like you're doing the right, like you're doing the right calculation, but you end up with the wrong response.
You're making the conservative talking points sound good, but you're gonna go around. Do you see how he's slowly See, I'm more advanced with this than a little bit you are. Do you see how I said he's going to twist this around the TDS?
Yeah.
I told you, both are going to do it.
I'm shocked, really. I didn't thought someone that stupid was possible or existed, but
He is
apparently
making
they do.
Case why Trump had him removed.
I just don't have much to say, man. It's crazy how stupid these two are.
I told you
anyone would have predicted.
Well, that's something we should talk about, the manner that it happened as well. I mean, one of the interesting things is this, we really should take this opportunity to give ourselves a huge amount of credit, I feel, in that you've been talking about this for a long time. You've been at me to get guests on to talk about this. Our interview with Daniel DiMartino, which I mentioned at the beginning, we released that, I think, on Christmas Eve. We kind of knew this was coming at some point because if you were actually paying attention in detail, you knew that it was building up to this. But what has been interesting, I mean, one of the things we haven't talked about, and it's really shaping the way people discuss this issue, because as we know, having talked to lots and lots of people, you know, from different sides of the political spectrum, there's obviously a massive isolationist, non-interventionist wing in American politics in particular. And I think it's fair to say that it's based on the fact that Iraq was a disaster, Afghanistan was a disaster, and before that, Vietnam was a disaster. But what's happened here is a president that many people thought would be non-interventionist and isolationist is actually showing that there is a third way in all of this, which is you don't have to withdraw from the world in a way that I think it's reasonable to say America cannot do while remaining a great power. Being a great power means controlling the territory around you, controlling neighboring countries, making sure that other great powers don't encroach on your territory, don't sabotage your operations, etc. But what he's not doing is getting America embroiled in a regime change war in Iran. He just takes out the nuclear weapons in 12 days, job done, largely using Israeli intelligence and so on. And here in Venezuela, what we saw is an intervention with zero casualties by the Americans, where they effectively go in, extract the leader who they consider a problem, and then leave. We'll talk obviously about the implications for Venezuela going forward, but it is quite a remarkable thing. And I think President Trump is single-handedly showing that you don't have to be someone who launches long, costly trillion-dollar wars to deal with specific problems in the way that we've seen in the past.
Completely agree. I mean, Trump in his address to the nation said that only the Americans could have been capable of pulling off this kind of operation. And he's right. He's right. I couldn't think of a single other nation that would have been able to do this. The way that Delta Force carried this operation out, it was absolutely masterful. So I was talking to my friend, and he was saying that on Friday night, it was around 2 o'clock in the morning. He's an insomniac, so he was playing Sudoku, and he heard planes flying overhead. Now, at the moment, there is a no-fly zone across Caracas, the capital, and across Venezuela. And so he thought that was bizarre. He heard a huge explosion, and then he heard another series of explosions. And then that was it. That was it. Now, I do know one person, a cousin of mine, who lives close to the area that was affected, whose windows were blown out. But that seems to be pretty much all that happened as far as civilians, as civilian casualties. Well, not even civilian casualties, but property was affected, etc. So what Americans did with this was completely masterful. But what's really interesting, and I don't think people are talking about enough, is who they appointed as the successor. They didn't appoint Corina Machado, what people widely regard as the leader, the de facto leader of Venezuela. He said about her, she's a nice lady, but she doesn't have the respect of the country. And what people actually think he means by that is she doesn't have the respect.
That was this year's Nobel Prize winner, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
What he's describing is The thing is, I'm waiting for the but. They've already done the but. But they're gonna spin this as
they understand it so well. It's just ridiculous how stupid they are to not understand. They are basically praising Trump right now.
Now, I'm going to say this operation no one knew anything about. When I know Canada has really good special forces. I'm not knocking you guys for that.
No, actually, we kind of suck for the last
You got
few
good
years.
snipers, dude.
Trudeau did so much damage to our military. It's like
he did, but
nasty.
your snipers still hold the records for some of the longest shots. Cannot say that. Now, the funny thing about Delta Force is more of a joint operation force. So bear in mind, they're not really fully contractors. They're all branches of the military. Literally, the fact that Trump kept this secret and had this planned, again, people think, see, if anything, when we were in the deserts of Afghanistan, in Iraq for a very long time, we've been crafting modern forces. You hear this as we just went in, because people forget when we killed bin Laden, we found bin Laden's compound, came in. The only thing is, we had to use a Pakistani airbase. Then we went over to the compound. Then we flew right out to a carrier. Seriously. People forget. Our special forces do have. Now, Delta Force is not always the cleanest. This just happened to be a very clean operation. And they say up to 150 individuals or 150 planes. Yeah, that's a lot to keep hidden in movements. So, just to give you an idea. No one knows how many we fully used, but it was a good portion of flight crews. It was more than just SEAL teams, and it was more than just Rangers. Again, people, but what you're going to see them is they grasp the concept, but just wait for the but.
Of the army. So if we look at it through that lens, it's a very pragmatic choice because he's put in place, effectively, Maduro's one of Maduro.
When will he be done buttering up and praising Trump? Is there a new moment in that stream where he doesn't praise Trump?
Maduro's hench people. And this Delcy Rodriguez, by the way, is not a moderate. She was at Maduro's side when he was committing his horrendous.
Yes, and she won the Nobel Peace Prize too.
And I think genuinely some people will see that as far right propaganda. Well, it's too leftists that understand what's going on, but that get the wrong conclusion again.
Crimes when all of these awful things were happening to the Venezuelan people. What's really interesting as well is her father was a renowned left-wing terrorist. So this is a woman who has extremism coursing through her veins.
Is she a communist?
Yes, she's a part of the Communist Party of Venezuela.
And do we know why it is that they've essentially replaced one communist with another?
Well, this is where we get into the realms of conjecture, because the rumors in Venezuela are there have been multiple bounties on the heads of the regime. So in the heads of the regime, there have been multiple bounties. However, with Delcy Rodriguez and her brother, who was the head of the Senate, there was no bounty. So people are going, hang on a second, why is it everybody else has got a bounty for 10, 20, 50 million dollars on their head, but Delcy hasn't? And the rumor is that she was in league with the Americans. She knew what was going to be happening. She was the one who gave the information. Now, this is just conjecture. We don't know. These are just rumors. And that's the reason why she has been she has stepped in, and we have seen this smooth transition of power, because she has said herself, and she's made this public, that she will do whatever the Americans want. She will do whatever.
And what do they
Trump
want?
wants.
Have we heard what their plan is for Venezuela? Because, I mean, you talked obviously at the beginning about the fact that this is a great opportunity for the Venezuelan people to finally have leadership that actually represents them and the wishes, and have a stable economy, etc. Well, what you're describing so far doesn't sound remotely like that.
No. So what Trump has said is that essentially, he didn't use these words, but Venezuela is currently a de facto colony of the United States as of this moment.
There we go.
He says that.
Did he really say that?
No, he didn't say that, but that's what Venezuela is as of this moment. Venezuela is under the control of the American government.
I told you.
How?
Because they have a leader in charge who is following the orders of the Americans. That there is no question about that. If she, and Trump has said this, if she steps out of line, the same thing is going to happen. So she knows that she can't fuck around, to put it bluntly. So what Trump has said is he wants Venezuela to be opened up to the oil companies. He wants the oil to be the infrastructure to be rebuilt. He wants the oil to start pumping. And he says eventually he wants it to be ruled by a Venezuelan leader who will treat Venezuelans with dignity and respect and be a good ally to America. But at the moment in Venezuela, you might have seen videos of Venezuelans cheering on the streets, Venezuelan flags, hot Venezuelan ladies, dancing in the street, etc. None of that video footage have come from the streets of Caracas, Maracaibo, or any other city.
You know why? I know why. Because some of the communist people, some of the old regime are still around. So if the people from Venezuela dance and do all of that kind of stuff, they will be
targeted.
Yeah.
The
they will
funny
be
thing is,
the
remember
board.
I told you, I said, wait for the butt.
It's stupid. He is just reinforcing the idea
I
that
literally told
Trump took down a dictatorship.
I literally told you, wait for the butt. Literally, this is why they were called idiots. He literally said, we're going to come in there. She is now a puppet of Trump. If something bad happens, Trump will do something to her. What? I was like, I heard this live, and I'm like, and you needed that TikTok video. I go, this is TDS and derangement in action.
Yeah, you're right.
In Venezuela, those have come from Madrid, Barcelona, Miami, wherever it may be.
Coming from down
when I was talking to my friends and relatives, there is a lockdown in Venezuela. Nobody is allowed to leave their house unless you go to work and it is an emergency, or you have to buy food, or you have to go to the gas station. That is it. At the moment, the colectivos, which are essentially Maduro's thugs and henchmen, the people who patrol and maintain order, they're currently roaming the streets. If you were found on the streets without papers or without a good reason to be there, you are in big, big, big trouble.
Well, this is why I asked you why you say that the United States is in charge, because if Maduro's colectivos are roaming the streets shooting people who go out, that doesn't sound to me like the US is in charge.
But we don't know that they're shooting people. What we do know is that there is a lockdown, and that...
Okay. But is that lockdown instituted by the Americans?
We don't know. We don't know.
They actually know, but I think that would
it
look bad if he admitted, like, it's actually because Maduro is like that.
I don't think it's Trump. We took the guy. Now, if we put her in power as intern, okay. Trump.
I think it's Maduro people that don't want people to party.
No, it's Maduro's people that doesn't want. They still control it. We may have removed him, but it's still his regime and power.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Surprise me if it is, because there's the most dangerous thing, and we've touched on it before, is a power vacuum. And that's what they don't want. Because when you have regime change, like we've seen in Iraq or in Afghanistan, all of these countries, the moment you have a power vacuum, that is the time when everything crumbles. So it actually makes sense to have a lockdown and to have people in their houses and not leaving only for essentials or emergencies.
It's an interesting situation because I'm not hearing a lot about the promise of elections or democracy and all of that. Do you think that's on the cards?
I think that's going to.
Are you kidding me? Didn't Trump said several times we will wish they have an election in the next year or so? Am I crazy? Did I imagine that?
Led with the latest from today, not the day he was captured. The meeting, the first video we showed from a news conference is literally the conference today with the plan going forward. And he was asked about elections. We will try to get elections within the next year.
So it's literally misinforming people right now. Amazing.
This was 4 days old. Literally, I swear to you, Multi, that when I heard this stream, it was literally the Iraq War, blood for oil, Iraq destabilizing Afghanistan stuff. This is the shit we went through. These are the people, like, the thing is, don't let Kessin fool you. Don't let the guy on the left fool you either. He is a firm believer in this. I can tell you're silent and flabbergasted.
I'm shocked some people are so stupid.
You skip over. I sometimes don't bring these videos to you. You've slowly adjusted and see why I'm so serious. I see why I see now.
I didn't thought it was possible to be this stupid, really.
He is literally making the case why Trump was right.
I think,
and then why he's wrong.
Venezuelans have waited for 26 years to get rid of this government. I think, unfortunately, there are no promises. We don't know. There have been talks that Delcy Rodriguez is going to rule for a 90-day interim period. And bear in mind as well, it's not only Delcy Rodriguez at the top. All Maduro's henchmen and some of his most notorious enforcers, the Minister of Justice, the Minister for the Interior, who is also the head of the colectivos, these people, these men are still in place. They are still.
I died inside for real. I'm telling you,
he is kind of being honest. We maybe did remove Maduro, but we also scared the shit out of the top part of his government. The thing is, these were the people running around 4 days after, a day or two after Trump did his thing, and then they're like, oh, Venezuela's a colony. How is Venezuela a colony if we don't control it?
Yeah.
Still in place. So even though they have had bounties on their heads for tens of millions of dollars, they're not going anywhere as of this moment.
And that goes back to say, whoever said Venezuela should deal with that person was not in our reality. That person didn't realize people didn't have such power to just take out that regime.
I think what's really important to talk about is the level of uncertainty. No one knows where this is going. This is a day-to-day situation where Venezuelans and people around the world are waking up and going, "What's going to happen today?" So
they don't really wake up because they still think socialism and communism are good things.
Well, here's America the thing. Let me give you the hypothetical, right? Maduro got removed. People cheered in the streets. His former thugs in the areas they control came out, tamped down their local districts. Meanwhile, there is freedom through parts of the country. But in the main areas, they're still controlled by the militants and the dictator's former leaders. Here's the funny thing. If I ask you, why has nobody assassinated Putin yet? Because they're scared the guy who kills Putin will be killed by a supporter of Putin. A regime is kept in power. The person and the people at the top of a regime stay in power because they can instill fear.
And whoever can replace Putin may be worse than Putin.
No, Putin, the problem is why Putin's never.
And they're saying to the Venezuelan government, "This is enough. We're going to now operate and instruct Venezuela how to exist, how to live, how to be a country." But as to the long-term future of Venezuela, what happens and to the Venezuelan people, it's anyone's guess, to be honest.
We haven't really talked about Maduro. I don't know how important it is at this point, but effectively he's been taken to the United States, he's been charged with drug trafficking, as I understand it, and he's pleaded not guilty. Is it fair to say that while he certainly, and our conversation with Daniel DiMartino touched on this extensively, it's certainly true that his people have been involved in the drug trafficking, including to the United States. That really isn't the reason that this has happened. Is that fair to say?
No, that's not the reason that it's happened. Because if we look at drug trafficking, we go, well, why not Colombia? Why not Mexico? Mexico, in terms of
do you know those 3 and multiple drug boats that we have blown up going through the Caribbean? Did you hear about that story, Multi?
I didn't.
We've been blowing up drug boats and drug submarines. You wonder why?
Because we don't want that in the USA.
We don't want this here in the U.S. or North America. Who do you think they're coming from? They're coming from the drug gangs out of Venezuela. Now, the funny part about this is, see, again, I have a whole theory on how people like these two, I call them knuckleheads, evolved. But some of the time I have to share it with you. It's really interesting because I like to find a way to put it because it goes to the society established post-World War II. They look at people like Trump. Trump might be, like if you ask what an isolationist is, Trump's trying to protect America. This is the stuff you don't see. They think that. Now, the problem is, if Trump really wanted to replace the government, why didn't he replace the government down there?
I don't know, but to be honest, I'm tired. I lost brain cell. My brain is fried.
Yeah, you're learning. Here's a better part
it's crazy how stupid these two were. I can't believe it.
Did you already see how I said they were going to make the argument against saying Trump has TDS? The problem is these people are legendary. The thing is, he thinks if he sounds like a centrist, he doesn't. But he is also, see, Kissinger is the same person. As I said, he talked to James Lindsay, who was saying the activist right was bad as the progressive activist left.
Yeah. So I will ask you this: what do you have going on your end of the internet?
I just have Sacred 2 going on and random things. Oh, by the way, as we were doing this evening, did you know another video, a better, crisper video from the thing dropped? She tried to run over the guy.
Wow.
Apparently, but he didn't get hit. And she looks like a firm.
That's wild.
It's the thing is, she was like, so one person is saying she didn't, because the thing is, she took around a so the video itself is, I don't know, it's like he walks up and then it looks like he nearly gets hit, basically, but he didn't get hit. But it's that realm of, it's funny because I was curious if this happened like the other, like.
Anyway, anyhow.
Yes, you take care. Yes.
Yeah, I'm not done yet. Well, actually, I will say this. Tomorrow, tier list of 2025 movies with Dre. Next Thursday, Dragon, if you are available a bit earlier at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, that's if something comes up in politics, whether it's Canadian or
That
USA.
should be good, yes.
It depends if something happens. If nothing happens, if there's no point of making a stream, we won't do a stream. But if we do a stream, it's Thursday, not Friday or Saturday. It's Thursday.
It's fine. I can adjust my stuff.
And that's really, it depends if something happens. If something happens, it's Thursday just before Friday, and I'm excited about that. Outside of that, well, more Metroid Prime 4. I cannot wait to finish the game. With that being said, we are out. Thank you a lot, Dragon, and see you soon. Talk to you soon. Take care.